What? Are you gonna start with your yell?
No, not today. No yelling today.
Dude, that's the way we.
I think it's a little played out.
It's 'cause
2
my wife's
episodes
here.
in a row. Yeah. So you guys are married.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we got married last year.
Oh, nice.
Real quiet, real under the radar, but we did it.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Nice.
Can you talk to my girlfriend and tell her that's how we should do it?
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's the best. Really though, it was pretty great.
That's awesome. I'll ask you more about that after we wrap
sure.
up. Cool. So welcome back, guys. This is episode 20 today of the Patent Pending podcast. Podcast for creatives.
By creatives.
And today we have on Jordon Diab.
Thanks for coming on, Jordan.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time.
Oh man,
This is
I'm happy to be here.
This is gonna be a fun one. So episode 20 today, and we got Jordan on. So Jordan, what is it you do? And tell us about you a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm here local in Las Vegas. I am a artist, shoemaker. I like to consider myself a photographer and videographer for the most part as well. But I don't know. I kind of do a little bit of everything. So I think artist is a little bit all encompassing.
It's like a nice blanket statement.
Yeah, I always feel weird answering
Keeps it
that
short.
question because exactly. People are usually like, an artist. Okay, that's
You should say I make cool shit. And
yeah,
just-
right.
There you go.
That's a better one. That's a
Yeah,
better
'cause, like,
tagline.
Artist, my brain would either go, you're like a musician artist, or like you're a
traditional
painter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
If someone's just like, if that's all I know, I'm like, hey, Jordan, you're like, hey, I'm an artist. I'm like, what kind?
Yeah, I do struggle with that. Like just answering that question simply, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's just more complex
Yeah,
and it opens up, I think, more questions than it answers. Most
for
of the
sure.
time,
Yeah.
you know.
When I get asked that and I start telling people what I do, I'm like, oh, I'm oversharing. And then I get
Well, it all
insecure
started-
and then I get weird.
Yeah, that's how I feel anytime someone's like, oh, what kind of photography? And then like the brain just like explodes. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Do you really want me to get into
Yeah,
it?
just I push buttons.
Obviously we live in Las Vegas. Were you born and raised here? Where are you from
Born and
originally?
raised in
Oh,
Las
sick. Me
Vegas.
Nice,
too.
little unicorn.
One of the, I was
Yeah,
going to say
dude,
one of the
hell
few.
yeah.
My wife was as well.
Nice.
Sick. That's 3 in one room.
I'm the odd
What
man
high
out.
school did you go to?
Palo Verde.
Oh, cool. Right on.
How about you?
Durango, and then I transferred to Southwest Career Tech
Oh, okay.
in 10th grade because right when they opened. So then I graduated there. I was the first
Nice.
graduating class.
Oh, okay.
What about you? Ah, nice. So you guys are
Oh yeah.
up like northwest.
Yeah,
A little bit.
a little bit.
Savannah's little stomping grounds over there. Cimarron and Cimarron. I'm just gonna go with Cimarron.
Yeah, I distinctly remember going to parties up there and then taking that long trek back home on the 215.
Mhm, all the way around.
Yeah, just- yeah. But sick.
So how did you get into? You said you're a shoemaker.
Mhm.
How did you get into where you're at today?
So I'm glad we have time because it's a little bit of a story. But so I was working for a liquor distributor pre-COVID. And so I was there for 4 years. And then when COVID hit, I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. My job mainly focused on the hotels. So that was where
Okay.
my focus was for that job. And when COVID happened and all the hotels shut down, the whole strip shut down, my job went kaput. So I was just home kind of hanging out. And I think, like everybody else, just got a little stir crazy and wanted something to do. And so I had a few pairs of sneakers in the closet and I went and got some paints and started, customizing and just doing some cosmetic customizations and stuff. And I think quickly realized that like, I don't have the patience for painting specifically as an art. So, big kudos to anybody that does. But I never painted growing up. It wasn't like a medium that I was super familiar with anyway. I was always very like pencil when I was doing my illustrations when I was growing up. But so that was something new that I wanted to try out. And like I said, I kind of got to the point where I was like, yeah, this doesn't really feel like it. And then I was able to find somebody online who was offering, again, still through COVID, through quarantine, who was offering pattern making courses for sneakers. You can make your own pattern and then show you how to construct that pattern and build it into a shoe. And so I took advantage of that, did that through basically Zoom or FaceTime,
Right.
Learned how to make patterns, learned how to put those patterns together into footwear, and then took it from there.
Now, when you say patterns, is that like, what does that mean? Like leather patterns?
Pattern making. Yeah, exactly. So really mapping out and creating the pattern for the shoe from scratch, just like if someone is wearing a garment, They have to do the pattern for it. If you're not using a blank or something, you're constructing something, you would start with a pattern that each panel would be a specific size. You would have registration lines that tell you where to line those up with other panels. And so the way you do it is you essentially draw it from scratch and you custom make your own pattern. That's why when you see people that do the art of, we call it a reconstruction process, it'll look so different from person to person because most people are either buying their patterns or they're making them their own, both of which are going to give you a really big, wide range of differences between person to person's work.
Oh, shit. Sick. So this is all super recent.
Yeah, I started in 2020. I finished my first shoe, I think mid-September of 2022.
Wow, congratulations,
or 2020.
man.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're not even on. You're like, technically 2. We just said September.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, what are some like growing pains? So, okay, first of all, are you full-time freelance now? Do you still have the day job? I know you said you lost it, but
I actually, so I got a job after I'd started the shoemaking thing, but I wasn't to the point where I could go full-time. I was working a remote job. That job I quit in February of last year. So February 18th will be like my 1 year as completely freelance.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's it's in like 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have to find a way to celebrate it or something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just an accomplishment.
Yeah. You definitely celebrate those milestones.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, how was your first year? Are there some growing pains? What are some things that you've learned? What are some pros and cons from working, having a full-time job to then transitioning into freelance?
Yeah.
Is there anything notable off the top of your head?
I think it was.
You just the microphone.
Yes, of course. Sorry about that. So, that's a great question, and I think there's a lot of growing pains in that first year, but I think a lot of it comes with having expectations. Right? Is that you put these big expectations on yourself, and we're always our own worst critic. We always think we need to do better, and it's good, right? We have that driving force to make us be better. But I think for me, it was just expecting too much too soon, and understanding the volatility behind, maybe not the volatility, but taking the peaks and valleys as they come and understanding that that's par for the course, and not saying, okay, I didn't bring any cash this month. I haven't contributed to the household at all. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But you just have to take them with the peaks and valleys, because you have a really great month one month and then you don't bring anything, and it's just kind of one of those things that you have to learn to be okay with. I came from a very structured, environment in the corporate world where it was very KPI driven, and it was everything was looked at on a very micro scale, really, actually. So it's like everything is being looked at, and you're so used to being in that mindset. I think that when you switch over to freelance and you start to pursue your own thing, you have to untrain that.
Yeah. I think that's very wise of you to already be thinking about that, how there's peaks and valleys and ebbs and flows.
You love that word. Love that phrase.
Ebbs and flows.
Yep.
Yeah. Cause dude, that's something I'm learning now. And I've been freelancing for 8 years. Like I had a really wonderful year last year. And then I'm already like thinking like, oh, maybe this year is not going to be as good as last year, and then just being okay with that. And then, cause it's like, I feel like it's like pedal to the floor constantly. It's just like full drive, full speed ahead.
Right.
And if I feel like if I'm not constantly shooting or constantly having that, constantly having that feeling of just like hustling, then I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm going crazy,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like recently I've been working a ton on just like back end stuff, like finances and taxes and like website and this and that. And like, I'm learning like, oh yeah, this is like still just as good. So maybe I'm not out physically shooting stuff, but this needs to be done as well. So that's really wise and cool of you to already be noticing that at the beginning of your career.
Thank you very
young
much.
In your career. Yeah, dude.
I appreciate
Sick.
that.
How old are you, Jordan?
31.
31.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We're all the same.
There
Yeah,
you
this
go.
guy's
There you
fucking young
go.
over here.
Yeah. No, I'm saying no, he's wise because he's 31,
Yeah, it's nice that you kind of are trusting in yourself.
in the process.
Yeah, more so trusting in like how do I say, like you're trusting in the long game of like, okay, there's going to be good days. Like you said, good months, there's going to be highs, lows, but let's not get carried away on either the high or the low.
Exactly.
Because that's part of the process. Like, and I'm sure in your case, like anyone's case, it's easy to go, like you said, pedal to the metal the whole time, just go. And then eventually you're going to hit a wall.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be like, oh, okay, let's roll through it and like enjoy the process, basically.
And I think a big thing is that we're always go, go, go. Everybody's always go, go, go. And I think it's, you always have your mind, especially when you're, creatives, right? We always have our minds on the next thing. What's the next thing going to be even before I'm done with this one? And so I think, and my wife always does a really great job of reminding me to just celebrate the wins as they come, even if they're smaller, because I think that's what really helps keep you grounded and gives you that reminder of, what, this is why I'm doing this. I've had all of this success. I've had all of these amazing things happen. It's okay that I don't necessarily get to revel in those successes for a long period of time because I have to move on, but it is important to at least take the time, celebrate that win, at least for yourself.
Yeah.
And then move on.
Yeah. I think that too, having a great support system helps immensely. I know I think probably Sean, me, having like the counterpart to help talk you off the ledge,
Oh yeah. So important.
Yeah. When I'm spazzing at home.
And I've stood by many a edge.
It's nice to have that person that's in your corner when they need to be, but then also the other person or in the same thing, that person to go, hey, Jordan, let's maybe think about this decision, or let's kind of pump the brakes on this, at that second voice to go,
yeah.
You sure? And then you're like, okay, let's really think about whatever that, decision may be.
Yeah. So I tallied up some my finances for last year, and I was like, oh, I should probably spend a little more money for more write-offs. So on New Year's Eve last year, I was going to buy make another big purchase just for the write-off.
Right.
And I called my girl. I was like, hey, I was at a job. And I was like, I think thinking about buying this. What should I do? She's like, stop, don't buy it. I'm like, all right, you're right. And then I was like, oh, cool. That worked out really well.
So you were happy with the decision long term?
I mean, we'll see when I do my taxes.
Yeah.
But she made me feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, no, you're not really thinking about it. Just pump the brakes and just focus on what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I'm very impulsive, extremely impulsive.
Okay.
And so my wife is definitely that voice of reason for me as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
That soundboard to go, hold on. What
do you like to do impulsive? Make purchases?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always some camera shit, or it's, can I cuss?
Yeah.
Can I use cuss words?
You can say fuck, shit, ass.
Am I yes.
Can I say the fuck word?
We're not regulated.
So for me, it's always some camera shit, or it's always I just love getting new toys and trying them out. And so for me, it's always pumping the brakes with tools for the leatherworking, or I don't know, different donors or different things that I see out. Cause unfortunately the part of the process of what I do is you have to buy a shoe retail and then deconstruct it, rip the sole off, repurpose those parts into my work. And that's kind of also how I sidestep the legality of it. But anyway, I've always wanted to it's okay.
Yeah.
But so it's always, but again, I think it all goes back to being just having that creative mindset and always wanting to do the next thing. And you want to feed that beast. And it's you do have to pump the brakes and you have to make sure it makes sense. But anything I'm doing, it's do we need this lens? I think we need this new lens. We don't really have this focal length. They're some macro shots would be kind of cool, wouldn't they? Yeah. So it's always that. There's always a reason to do it, but then there's always a couple of reasons not to.
So that's a good segue. Do you shoot your own content? I know I've worked with your wife in recent years, and she just mentioned that she's been doing food photography, and I saw you come with your camera. So do you guys do your content for your page together?
We do. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
So cool. Everything that you'll see on my page, I won't say everything because there's one or two things on my page right now that were not shot by my wife or I, but 99% of what you see will all be shot by us.
Great job, you guys.
Love that.
Great job.
Thank you. Yeah. The photography is something that we've really leaned into. The past couple of years specifically, I got her the Sony A7 III for her 30th birthday.
Oh, nice.
A couple of years back. So I was shooting on a micro 4/3 or 3/4. I'm sorry. Or is it 4/3? It's been a minute since.
It's
3/4.
And we failed.
Yeah. The crop.
No, I think it was 4/3.
Yeah.
I was using just a normal DSLR.
Yeah.
And so then we upgraded to the Sony A7 III. And like I said, just leaned into that really hard. But I always loved photography. I was never necessarily too focused on the technical side of it. I think I was very much just guerrilla style, run and gun. And we're just going to pull out, I'd shoot friends' music videos when I was like in college and just like random stuff.
So you,
know what I mean?
So you have a history with a camera.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, it wasn't really anything that I mean, I should have learned way more, but I do kind of like feeling my way through things though. So but that was definitely part of it.
And I love that you and your wife do your own, in each perspective, your shoe stuff, her food stuff, because I think it was on the last episode, Mike and I were talking about using your resources available. So instead of trying to have somebody come in and shoot these things, for one, just scheduling, but then also two, you have your own vision for your own brand, let's call it, right? So I think it's awesome that you guys are able to shoot each other's things and just do it yourself, basically.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I feel so fortunate to have a partner who's motivated and wants to, and prioritizes the same things that we do, but also wants to learn, to your point, my vision and how I see things, because, what you bring up is the best point, in that for me, creative control is everything.
Right.
For my work specifically, it starts with an idea that usually comes from my head. I'm putting it into a design. I'm creating that design from scratch, and then I'm shooting that design and then presenting it to the world. And so for me, that's just as important, that last piece. And so I think, again, using your resources available, it economically makes sense, especially when you're starting a business, but also just from having, because you have that control. And sometimes it's frustrating. And sometimes I'm in a place where, I think I'm going to be able to get some really great content and shoot a shot, and I can't get a good shot of the shoe, and, it gets frustrating and whatever, but it's also like, and you all can probably attest to this, but you get that shot and you rush to the camera and you look to, cause you're like, I think I just shot the shot.
Right.
And you find those shots. And for me, being able to, again, have that process come back full circle from the idea to the design to the product, and then all the way back to the photo, it's just, that's the best part, is right when you get that last shot, you edit it and you have that final shot. And that's, that's why I love the photography aspect of it.
Well, I think it's cool that you have, like, for yourself, it's like literally the saying of like, this is your baby, because you have every single hand in each step. Like for me, I'm just like, I have an idea, or I'm taking photos. Like it's not as in depth as yours. As you have an idea, then you physically make something, then you shoot it visually and then show it off. And then like, it's just cool that you have so many layers.
Thank you. Don't discredit yourself, because photography is not easy, and people, you have to have an eye for it, and you have to know what you're doing. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because yours is like to make something and then also to show it off.
Right.
Like yours, there's so many layers to that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It is nice. It's nice to have that many outlets to be able to express myself. You know what I mean? Because I do the designs always kind of just come from my head, and then I put those, I'll do it through Procreate. I'll draw out a design.
iPad.
Exactly.
Nice.
And so I'll just draw out my design that way. I'll send, the digital rendering over to the client. So like I said, it's nice that I get to, exercise my illustrative skills when I'm doing because I feel bad for backtracking, but with all pairs that I order, that a client orders, you'll get your original rendering that I do a little bit more artistically, not so much blueprinty, but more, I do kind of like a watercolor, sort of digital watercolor rendering of what the shoe will look like. And I do different angles, and then I print that out, and it's in the box when I ship the shoes.
So can we actually backtrack more?
Please.
Can I ask you your process?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, like, what do you do when you get an idea? But I think this is even better. Let's, so say you do get an order.
Yeah.
What is then your process?
How much do you want me to divulge? Do you want me to talk about like,
we have no time limit. I want to know the details, man.
So
hey, I'm a customer. And then, so how does this work too? So do you just do you have like an order form?
So a lot of stuff is really done. I kind of wish it was more, I wish there was more of a concrete process for it,
more streamlined,
that I could streamline through my website. And I'm sure that it's just going to take some time on my end. And my wife helps me a lot with the website too, but surprise, surprise. But a lot of the times people will just either send me an email, or they'll, message me on Instagram, which I don't mind. So we just talk about it. The first thing I do is make sure that it's something that I want to take on, that it's something that I feel passionate about. It's just like a tattoo, right? It's an investment. You like a lot of American traditional. You're not going to go to a realism artist and ask them to do American traditional. So don't come to me and ask me, or if you come to me and ask me for things that I don't necessarily specialize in, I'm going to advise you to go to some, and I'll even give you suggestions.
Right.
Your
But
referral
it's
out.
exactly
Yeah.
because I know so many great makers. There's, you know what I mean? There's so many that
It's
I
the
can.
same with us. It's like if someone's like, oh, I need this. It's like, no,
That doesn't make sense
hit
for
up
me
this
to do
person.
it because
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it with that eye,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be doing you a disservice. You're going to be paying me this money to not.
Yeah.
So first things first, I make sure, hey, is this something that I want to take on? And most of the time it is. My work, I think, is very specific.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't really deviate from like what I do too frequently. So I think it's easy for people to go on there and say, I can get the feel of what this guy kind of likes.
Right.
But let's say I say, yeah, that sounds amazing. It's always cash due up front in full.
Mhm.
The reason that is because let's say I do 50%, let's say I do 20%, whatever the case is. These are, the pairs are expensive.
Mhm.
Let's say I take even a 50% deposit. Okay. You're out $1,000, $2,000. But if I make this very specific shoe for you
Mhm.
that has all the colors and has all the materials that
how
you're
much are
looking
you
for,
out?
it has your, specific shoe size that I'm creating this for you, I'm out 20 hours of work
Right.
Mhm.
plus the money that it took to fund the project.
Yeah.
So it's never worth it for me to not take cash up front.
Yeah.
As much as I wish I could work people more, it just doesn't make sense. And because of that, I don't do it.
Yeah.
So until payment is made, you're not in the queue. So once payment is made, then I'll start my design. I put together a quick little illustration. I wish I should have brought my iPad and I could have brought or shown you, but I'll put up a quick little illustration. I send it over. And then if they say yes, we'll kind of make our design changes and tweak it until the customer is happy. Sometimes I'll then refine that design just so that way I'm not changing an old design. I kind of redo it.
Yeah. Okay.
After we get all of the things mapped out and all of the details mapped out, and then I'll save it, send it. Once I get that, I basically start.
Nice.
And that's when I'll start sourcing materials if I don't have them on hand. At this point, most of the time I have it on hand just because I've accumulated so much material over the last couple of years. And then, once
then the process starts.
then the process starts.
Nice.
My turnaround time is 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
It takes like a week to
Just
make a shoe.
giving yourself some
A
buffer.
little buffer.
Yeah. And
Especially
it's also
if
to
there is
finish.
a queue.
It's
of
it's
other
to finish
people's
the
projects.
pairs in the queue. And it's like, I don't like to overbook myself too much, but I also need to make sure that I'm leaving enough time for things to come up because they do, you know what I mean? And especially when you're freelance, people will call you and it's always like, the next
Yeah,
day.
we need
They needed it
2 weeks.
yesterday.
Yeah. So, I really like to make sure that that I'm not overloading myself and making sure that I have enough breathing room
For sure.
to take on a project. Plus also there's times where people are like, hey, I have a project and I need it done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I can't wait the 8 weeks. And I'll, if you're willing to pay for it, I'm willing to do it. And so
That's what I was going to ask. If that situation comes up, then you tack on a little extra fee for the rush to jump the line, basically?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a significant
Well, it's
fee.
convenience,
Well,
right?
it
You
needs
want
to be worth it.
to jump the line.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the way I look at it too, is I'm not just doing your pair first. Now every other customer behind you is going to get their
doing it.
pair later.
Right.
So you're not just paying to jump the line, you're paying because it's an
everyone back.
inconvenience for the rest of my, they're still going to fall within their 8 to 12 week mark, but it is still something that I think about because I really want things to be fair.
Right.
And I
For
don't
sure.
want someone who can just pay more,
Mhm.
just be able to just do it just to do
Well, because
it.
all
You
your
know what I mean?
customers are the same in your eyes.
100% all of my
Yeah.
customers
Yeah.
have value and they're, I appreciate every single dollar that anyone's ever given me.
Yeah.
So,
Even if it's like, because I saw your Instagram, you did shoes for Tai Tuivasa.
so I didn't do a shoe for Tai Tuivasa specifically.
Okay.
I love that story. I did.
the shoey image. I was just like, oh shit,
So
that's a shoe.
good.
Like,
So that shoe is actually made for Steve of the Nelk Boys. Steve will do it. And they had
then
something
he did
arranged.
okay.
And he
Nice.
threw the shoe into the cage, which I would love to get into that whole thing. And I'm sure it'll come back up. But but yeah, so
Dude, get into it.
yeah. Okay. So
How did you? So
that was wild.
did you
dude.
get contracted to do a shoe for Steve?
Yes.
Okay. How did that come about?
This was wild, dude. And it was like the first, I'm trying to think of timeline wise. I was like, I made my first shoe in September of 2020. I think this came up like February 2021.
Okay.
So
So I
I
was going to say that fight was maybe a year ago.
It was, that fight specifically was July 2021.
Okay, cool.
About a year and a half. And so I made my first shoe. I had made a couple of shoes for myself, and I got a message from somebody from Dana White's team, and they were just like, "Hey, he's launching this liquor brand, Howler Head, which is the
whiskey,
the
right?
whiskey of the
Banana
UFC."
whiskey?
Yep, absolutely. And so it was launching in Nevada, and they wanted to celebrate that and commemorate that, and wanted a custom shoe, but they wanted something a little bit more notable than just maybe a cosmetic custom or something like that.
Oh,
They
just
wanted
like okay.
they wanted something that was, I think,
Actually
a
custom.
little bit more. Yeah, exactly. One of one, right?
Yeah.
And so they reached out and they were like, "Hey, can you do this?" So I was like, "Sure, 100% I can." and that was, I'm trying to think. So I had, I think this was my 5th and 6th pairs, because they ordered 2 pairs for Dana.
Oh, okay.
And so I think it was my 5th
What
and
about that
6th pairs
trajectory, man?
I had ever made.
4th, 5th, 6th shoe. You
Bro,
already
I was
Right.
Dana White.
freaking out.
pretty
dude.
awesome.
I was freaking out. And the thing about it was, I'd only made 4 shoes, like total. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like one of those things where I did not feel comfortable with the process or anything like that. But I knew I had to say yes to it. I knew that I couldn't say no.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna do the best I absolutely can, or the best I possibly can, to make sure that the product is as good as I can do it right now.
Yeah.
I look back at those shoes today and I'm like, "Oof,
Do you not like
makes
them?
me sweat a little bit." But that being said, it really like made me dial in. I mean, it made me dial in. So that machine, like my first machine that I got, was kind of an economy machine. It wasn't the best machine in the world.
So when you refer to a machine as sewing machine?
Sewing machine.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I use what's called a post bed, which is, it has like a 6-inch post that the mechanism is up here. So that way bags, hats, shoes, anything that's 3-dimensional, you can kind of get inside of those curves,
Oh,
and
cool.
it gives you space above your table
Yeah.
to work.
Okay.
So I got an economy machine that was like $500, and then it was $500 for the shipping. So it was $1,000 total was what it cost me. But the motor was so fast. I mean, like, the moment you touch the pedal, it was like, and like would just pull the fabric. And so I wasn't experienced enough to use the motor in that way.
If you want to sit back, sorry to cut you off. If you want to sit back, you could just bring it too.
Okay.
That way, you're a little more comfy up in
Yeah,
there.
perfect. Thank you.
No, you don't have to always
So
bring it.
when I was making these shoes, I was hand turning the machine rather than using the motor. So every single stitch.
So you feed with one hand the fabric. And
I
then,
wouldn't really need to feed it.
Okay.
I mean, you do kind of have to hang on to it.
So my brain, I'm
but
thinking it's like a bandsaw.
yeah,
I'm like,
and you're right.
oh, yeah.
You hold it with one hand, but it has a mechanism in it that will feed it for
Okay.
you and pull it. So really, all you're doing is kind of holding it and making
Like
sure that it
guiding.
stays. Yeah, it's like more of a guide hand.
Okay.
But turning that wheel with my right hand, every single stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, hundreds and hundreds of stitches.
And real quick, the backstory, the shoes, were the Jordan 1?
They were Jordan 1s. I did a high top and a low top for
And
him.
then you did was it like a snake skin material? What was the material?
On the
I'm just thinking of the one picture I looked at. It was a
Oh,
black
yeah.
and white Jordan 1 while he's doing this shoey.
Yeah, so that was just made with some white calf skin, some water resistant suede.
So is that the
Water-resistant
material that you're
Italian
using
suede.
that you're sewing?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So I sourced that material,
Mhm.
cut my pattern out of it, and then there's a lot of other pieces that go to it. I have to
Okay.
thin some pieces that overlap and do
Right.
different things. Back material, so that way you give the shoe some structure,
Yeah.
and then you stitch it. You got to do all these things to it. But yeah.
So you're working with that material
So yeah,
and that machine that's not ideal.
I'm working with the machine. Yeah, the machine's not ideal, so I'm hand turning it, which is fine. It's just taking me a really, really long time.
Oh, and then
right?
also too, did you have a deadline? Did they have a time that they
no,
needed
so
it?
I didn't necessarily have a deadline, but Dana definitely likes things quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
they were like, hey, like, when can you get these done? And so they were kind of, nudging me along. For me, I was like, oh my gosh, I need like so much time.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because if there is a deadline, and then, you know, the conditions aren't ideal. You're extra stressed. It's like,
they gave me plenty of time.
Cool.
Yeah. They gave me plenty of time, didn't rush me at all. But, you know, I was still trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
I was even like, you know, making a couple pairs of shoes like on the side, trying to dial a couple of things in before I started on his pairs.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
You know what I mean? Like, so I was kind of really taking my time, and then they were like, hey, when are these going to be done? So I pushed them along, got them done. I leaned on some friends of mine, Flossy Customs here in Las Vegas. They made this kick-ass like carrying case, this big wooden one that had Howler head insignia all over it. And it was velvet lined. They're
awesome.
great. They're good friends
so
of
you
mine.
like subcontracted the, I get a little shoe box, but like housing type of thing. Oh, sick.
Yeah, totally. And that was kind of, they're really good friends of mine, Michael and Jasty, if you're listening, love you guys. But they're really talented as well. Side note, Mike is one of the friends that I would shoot music videos for when we were kids. So it just, you know, full circle. Yeah,
nice,
exactly.
Dude.
You got to keep your people with you. So, no, they're awesome. And, they do amazing work. And I was like, hey, I have to make these 2 pairs for Dana. Can you make a box, or, you know, can I include you guys? And so they were like, dude, absolutely.
Awesome.
And they did it for me. And, you know, wasn't able to pay them at that time, but they said, you know, no worries. And,
sick.
But then Dana ended up tagging us and posting it when he received it, which was really, really nice. He didn't have to do that. And that really like kind of jump started the whole thing. He posted a reel on Instagram, and, you know, he was just basically like, hey, I never do this kind of thing, but these are some shoes I got and they're badass.
That's awesome.
Blah, blah. So then it kind of the whole thing kind of blew up because, like I said, he tagged me, he tagged Flossy Customs, which again, I mean, he didn't have to do.
Right.
And he did it. And we as creatives know that makes such a big difference. You know what I mean? Having somebody with 4 million followers, I can't remember how much he had at the time,
right,
was just like a godsend. You know what I mean?
Plus, there's sorry to cut you off, but
no.
there's so many steps within that, because, you know, it's not like Dana's on his phone to tag it.
Totally.
It's like there's so many layers. So to get that acknowledgement that, like you said, does help boost your, you know, your career path is always really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up getting him that pair like end of June or something like that. His 2 pairs, I ended up getting him like by the end of June. So I took a few months.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I was also trying to figure out, you know, some stuff on the side with just the shoemaking and how I could be better. And then he called me 2 days later and he said, hey, I know it's short notice, but can you get me 2 pairs of shoes for the Nelk boys for by the Conor fight, which was, like I said, that July. It was the Conor McGregor card. And I was just like, yeah, sure. And I was still working full-time, working remote. I was working full-time. And I was working for a staffing firm. I told you I got that job right before I went full-time, and demanding. I mean, anybody that works in staffing, my hat's off to you. But no, it was really, really demanding. And so when he gave me this, like, you know, 12 day deadline, I was just like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? So
11-day deadline.
11-day deadline. And mind you, I hadn't accumulated materials like that. So I needed to buy these, and I had to lean on a distributor, District Leather Supply in Atlanta, always takes good care of me.
Okay.
I want to plug them. But they overnighted me some stuff right away, made sure I had everything that I needed for the project. And then I just went to work, and the reason why it's full circle, that's the shoey pairs that I'm working on now at this point in my story. But so I'm working on those pairs. They were launching something called Happy Dad, which is a hard seltzer that I'm sure people have seen. And so thought
it was beer.
It's like a seltzer. It's like a hard seltzer.
Oh, okay.
I think beer's out these days, man.
Well, because I guess it comes in a beer can. Maybe that's what I'm associating it with.
They do give like a full
skinny.
size
like a
beer can. I think that was their point too. Is like, hey, we want to do like a full size, something that looks like a beer that you can carry and not look like you're holding a seltzer. I literally think was what they were doing.
Smart on that.
Right. So I had 11 days, and I just decided I was going to get to work. Right. So I'm pushing the project along. Literally, I mean, working this very, very demanding job that I can't really take a second away from. I'm working like 7:30 in the morning to maybe 6:30 at night, like 11-hour days. Anyone that works remote too, it's like, it's so hard to turn it off. Right. Because you're working from home, and it's, you know what I mean? It's not, you have to make sure that you're protecting that. Anyway, but it was just a lot. And then I'd work, and then I'd try to get a little bit of sleep. and wake up and do it again, right? And then so we got to the point where I was like 3 days away, right? The fight, I have to deliver the shoes Saturday morning, the Saturday morning of the Connor fight. Actually, I think it was Friday morning before. I had to get him these shoes on that Friday.
The weigh-ins.
Yeah. I was like, I need to like make sure that he has these by that day, because he was also like moving around a lot, and you know, leading up to that event, he's always going.
Sean's working with fighters quite a lot. They're all over the place.
Yeah. So like, you know, getting some time with him, I was like, okay, Friday morning, I'll make sure that you have the shoes. So it's like Wednesday, I've got 2 days left. And I just, because I'm hand turning this machine, I have no time. I'm feeling my way through, and I'm trying to make these as perfect as I can, so that they're taking me so much longer. Every single stitch, I'm like making sure that it's lining up and that the stitching is perfect, and doing everything I can. And this is crazy. So I Wednesday night, I'm like, I have to pull an all-nighter, right? So
because you're still maintaining the day job.
Because I'm still maintaining the day job. And again, it's 7:30 to 6:30 every day.
Fuck,
and it's
heavy.
Extremely demanding.
Yeah.
So there were times where I could step away and push a project along a little bit and then go back. But Ash knows, dude, like I would be there, and the phone was just constant. The phone ringing was just constant. You know what I mean? And so it was just tough. So I would work the day job. I'd get off at 6:30. You know, she would make some dinner. She's just the best cook. She would make some dinner for us. And then I would just get to work. And so I pulled an all-nighter Wednesday. I literally didn't stop working until 7 the next day, when I brushed my teeth and logged onto my job again. Worked 7:30 to 6:30 again. And then got off.
Another all-nighter.
Did it again, because this is Thursday night going into Friday now.
Yeah, and you're
so
trying to
I
get to
do it
Friday.
again. Right around midnight, my dog jumps up and grabs one of the tongues and rips it to shreds.
No.
And dude, I'm not kidding. I'll be totally honest. This is about honesty, right? I sat there, I just like cried for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
I think that's the only thing to do in that situation.
Yeah, I just like let out a couple tears, and then I just like kind of like wiped them off, and I was like, all right, like let's get it. And I was out of the lining material that I had used, so I had to rip both tongues apart so I could redo them with the same materials and switch up the whole thing. Ended up working out fine. But so I get the shoes, the uppers, the leather part of the shoe, right? I get those closed, which is when no more sewing is needed. You're done now. You have to do a process called lasting, which is when you stretch the leather around something that looks like it's shaped like a foot, but it's all plastic and there's no details like toes or ankle bones or anything. It's very like rounded.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you stretch that over the leather and that upper for your shoe, you stretch it over that last. And then you glue it, you let it sit for a couple of days, and then that will help give the shoe its shape. So it's not just flat, pieces of leather, basically, right? So I'm sitting there, it's late, it's 2:00, in the morning, probably. I'm lasting this shoe. This was, I'm like lasting this shoe. And then you have to pull, because they're pliers, they're lasting pliers. And I pull and I hit myself right on my like orbital bone. And I'm just like, fuck. And like, it's like 2 a.m. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I can't believe what I just did. And I just feel
you start leaking.
Starts leaking. Dude, this thing didn't stop bleeding for like 2 hours. And then I don't even remember what we did. I think I just probably rubbed some Aquaphor on it. By the way, don't use that. But
don't use that for a wound.
Wow, how funny is it? You're doing this with in relation to the UFC, and then you're really fighting for these shoes.
Right.
Fighting.
It's like you had to be your own cut man. You put
blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears
on this one
to stop the bleeding.
Literal blood, sweat, and tears.
And dog saliva.
It was tough. It was just so. It felt like Murphy's Law, right? Where I was like, anything that can happen with this project is happening right now. And I had to be at the UFC building at 10 a.m. the next day, that morning. So I was like, you know what? I just have to do it. Blah, blah, blah. Finish the pair. I'm like hand stitching the soles on. That's the last bit of stitching you need to do is you hand stitch.
Did you call out Friday of your day job?
Oh, no. I just, I told them, I was totally transparent with them too. Cool. I told them that I had to go down to the UFC building, that I made a pair for them. And I just said, can I take the first half of the day off?
Oh, cool.
I'll come back after lunch.
Oh, how honorable of you.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, I'm taking the whole week off.
Yeah. I mean, it was Friday. I had a really long week. And at the end of the day, I still signed up to do a job. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure that I'm that I'm being
You're a stand-up guy.
holding up my end of the
Stand-up guy.
deal. Yeah, holding up my end of the bargain. I'm actually just saying that in case they're listening.
Yeah, there you go, covering your ass.
But it felt like Murphy's Law, right? And it was just a really, really tons of growth that happened during that project.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife was like, you know what? There's a reason why you're having to work so hard.
Right.
There's a reason why this isn't going smoothly in your eyes. It's going to be worth it. Just continue to push forward. I also leaned on my friends at Flossy Customs again to make these badass, like cooler style shoe boxes because they were Happy Dad themed.
There you go. Nice.
So they were cooler style boxes. They were dope.
Nice.
And so they made some custom ones for me. We went and we dropped them off and showed them to Dana. He loved them. And then he gifted those to the Nelk boys, Steve and Kyle, Saturday morning, the next day. And so he even posted another video of him gifting them to Steve and Kyle, thanking me, thanking Flossie. Again, things that he didn't really have to do. Definitely didn't have to do, but chose to anyway. And so we were like, oh my gosh, that was awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then I figured that the Nelk boys would be wearing those shoes to the Connor event that night. I just figured because they're going to be with Dana, they're gifts from Dana, that this would make sense for them to wear them. So I'm telling like my mom, I'm telling my dad, I'm like, oh, and obviously Dana's a big deal, especially in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so my family's like freaking out. And so my grandparents from California, they're like, hey, we want to like watch the fight and like see if they can see. And I was like, oh, you guys are so sweet, but this is literally like a pair of shoes that a guest at the fight might be wearing.
Right.
I don't want to make you guys
I have a feeling where this is going.
Yeah.
Like
so
it's okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be, oh my gosh, sorry. I'm going to be recording it anyway.
Yeah.
I talk a lot with my hands. I'm going to be recording it anyway. And if we happen to see it, I'll record it and I'll send it.
Yeah.
So then I go over to my friend's house, and this is a buddy who we watch all the fights with. I genuinely am a big UFC fan, and we watch all the fights like every Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So for me, just to your point earlier about, working with the UFC even adjacently was really cool.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, you weren't working with the UFC. You were working with the president of the UFC.
It's a great point.
Which is even cooler.
It is
a lot more direct. Yeah.
And so, I was, we were sitting there, we were watching it, and Bam Bam went and fought. I had no clue that him and Steve had this thing arranged. And Bam Bam starched not Tom Hardy. What's his first? Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy.
Yeah.
Starched Greg Hardy. And you can see him kind of motion outside of the cage, and he kind of does like a little finger, like a little come on,
right?
Jumps up on the cage. Steve takes off his shoe, throws it to him, throws him a can of Happy Dad. He cracked the Happy Dad on the cage, poured it into the shoe, and shot it.
So what are you doing?
I'm sitting. Okay, so
like, are you spazzing?
So I'm sitting. There's in my friend's house, he's got this like media room. So we were in there watching it in this big U-shaped couch. I'm on the far left. And what's so great about it was, aside from my wife being at another friend's house because she had to work, and so she went to a friend of ours houses who lives really close to us, and where I was kind of on the other side of town, which rarely happens, but we were not in the same room.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there watching it, and the way that it played live, you saw him doing the shoey, but it was like from the front, and you really didn't get a good view of it. All I saw was that the bottom of the shoe was like a Jordan 1 sole that was blue. You know what I mean? Or it might have been red, because one shoe, the left had blue and the right had red or something.
For the Happy Dad. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a different color outsole. So I'm like, it's just a Jordan 1, whatever. And then it cuts to like a slow-mo, like side shot, slow, ultra slow-mo, like super zoomed in. And I'm sitting there, and I like look over, and like my best friend's over on the right, and he like looked over at me, and I look at everyone else, and we're like, and they're like, is that your shoe? And I'm like, that's my shoe. And we're like, oh my God, like that's my shoe. And we're like, and then right as we're having this kind of like moment where we're all kind of like figuring it out, my phone just starts going crazy.
Dude, that's so sick.
Crazy.
That's so awesome.
I'm like, I can't even answer it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to like record on my phone.
Yeah.
And
your girl's trying to get a hold of
play
you.
the replay, dude, play the replay. I call her. I'm like, oh my God. She's like, I told you, dude. And so we're like freaking out. We're just like losing our minds over this. You know what I mean?
Dude,
and
I would have
like,
cried my eyes out.
I was, I don't know if I cried, and I'm a crier, but I don't know if I obviously, but I don't know if I cried or not, but it was definitely tear worthy. It was just such an amazing ending and kind of a stamp on such a challenging project for me behind the scenes that I don't think people ever even really realized how challenging that project was. And for me personally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was so early on in my career and there were so many hiccups along the way. And I had such a short deadline that it really tested me. And, you know, I'm sure at one point I questioned whether or not I wanted to even like pursue this as a career.
Yeah.
I've always loved sneakers. It's been like just a thing for me since I was a kid. And so footwear, sneakers will always be important, but it was like, I really thought about it. I was like, can I do this as a career? Is this something that I can put myself through mentally? Mm-hmm. Protecting my mental is always priority number one.
Right.
And so if ever I feel like I'm risking that, I usually have to reevaluate.
That's awesome because I'm like work myself into the ground constantly. That's really smart.
I think it's so necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I think no one else is going to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Everyone's going to ask the world of you. There's always someone who's going to want something from you. And so it's, we have a saying, my wife and I, it's, when you say no to somebody else, you're saying yes to yourself.
That's wonderful.
Ooh,
and so
that's a good one.
And so I think we get into this mode of being people pleasers a lot.
Yep.
We just talked about it on the
and
side.
I'm very much like that.
I say I'm too nice. I say yes to everything.
Too nice. I'm very, very much like that. And so when I thought about it that way, it totally changed my perspective because I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying no to you. You know, I'm just saying yes to myself and giving myself what I need to make sure that I'm able to continue to do things for people and to put, to push myself forward. But it is a really big priority for me. But anyway, that didn't end up happening. I those thoughts are always going to go through your head when you have a challenging time or, it's the devil on your shoulder, but it's, I'm glad I fought that urge, but it was so frustrating, but I mean, my wife couldn't have been more right. It was all because it was paying off in the end. And granted, I mean, the whole thing went viral. I mean, everybody I feel like saw the shoey. The frustrating part about it was that there were really big sneaker pages that picked it up and posted it. And they were like, Bam Bam Tuivasa does a shoey in a Jordan 1. But it's like anybody who knows anything about shoes would know that shoe never came out, that the style that I do is different than a retail style. My goal is always to make shoes that look retail. I always want to feel like you can pick them right off the shelf and you would never know the difference, right? I mean, granted, I'm using better materials, so you'll know the difference in that regard. But like as far as the construction, the build, the shape, the way that it looks, I really want to sell that style and that model to you.
Right.
So that's always the goal. But it's like, it was really frustrating for me to see a page that has sneakers in your name reposting something that anybody who's spent 5 seconds looking into, Jordans or whatever would be able to tell the difference. Yeah. Maybe not 5 seconds. I'm being a little hyperbolic.
Well,
if you're running a page that has sneakers in the title, you should know. Yeah. And all you would have to do, dude, Bam Bam reposted it on his story. Steve was all of these. So it would only take a little bit of investigative
research
for you to find out that I did it.
Negligence.
And it's just that they don't care. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to just grab the likes from these viral moments.
Right.
They don't care about making sure that I'm credited as the artist. But I had my people, I shouldn't say I had them, but my people sounded off in those comments.
That's good.
Though. Like I had 100 comments, tag the artist, tag the artist, tag the artist. Never did.
Dude. Yeah, that's whack. I mean, we run into that. It's different situations, but we run into that pretty frequently.
We can see
I feel like as a photographer, that probably happens way more frequently than it should. And especially because it's when you take a shot, you know what I mean? Like I don't have that much work out there. I've made 50 pairs of shoes my whole life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Think about how many photos you've taken and how much of your work is out there. So it's like, you want to make sure that you're being accredited for that when it's shared and when it's,
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think it's a little different because like when we have paying clients,
it's their
it
work.
feels a little different.
Yeah.
But for you, 100%.
Yeah, that's your baby. Like you literally made something from scratch.
Yeah.
Versus me, like I took a photo, even if it's cool. Like I
Yeah.
don't have as much like blood, sweat, and tears in
Yeah.
it as you would have. Like having the shoe, having the Dana, the Happy Dad, the fighter, all these things, and then
Yeah.
a repost from a page, and you're like,
From every big sneaker page.
Well, I was gonna say,
dude.
and the fact
everyone.
the fact that Ty, Dana, Steve, those guys can do it. There's
Mhm.
no reason why, you know, a sneaker news page,
Right,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
do it.
Full transparency, the Nelk boys never tagged me,
Oh,
but
okay.
I just want to be honest. But
Yeah.
But to
Dana
your
did.
point, there was tons of information out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's easy to find. I
Yeah.
know my way around Instagram just like anybody else does. Like I can figure out who made a pair
Yeah.
of what, when.
Yeah.
But regardless, that didn't
Mhm.
take away from, you know, the joy of the moment and how much it meant to me and all
Yeah.
that. Because it really was a pivotal part of my career. And working with Dana, having him commission me for the pairs for the Nelk boys, having that whole viral moment really gave my business a sense of legitimacy that it didn't have before. And that was perhaps the most valuable thing from the whole experience
Mhm.
and the whole project was just that stamp of approval. Meant everything. And it gave people made people feel more comfortable approaching me about work.
Well, it's the stamp of legitimacy in the eyes of a customer. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, this guy worked with
right.
such and such. And now I want to ask another question.
Sure.
Ask away.
What's the timeline between that moment of
Mhm.
fights and then you quitting your job?
So it was funny because I was miserable working that job. Miserable. And
Yeah.
I would, again, I'm a crier. I'd get up and I would like turn a couple of days. I'd turn my computer on. I just like kind of tear up because I was just like, dude, like I'm just like,
Yeah.
can't keep doing this. You know what I mean? And staffing is also a very,
So can I ask what you're staffing for?
yeah.
What-
So I was working for a large staffing firm that my team focused on accounting professionals. So
Okay.
so I was just hiring or helping
Okay.
hire accountants for companies.
real just dry stuff.
And
Nothing.
yeah, it was riveting.
real.
Like balance sheets. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Debits and credits. But no, it was just, and it's also like the people just have dollar signs on them because it's such a lucrative business, but it's like everyone just has a dollar sign on them. And I don't treat people that way.
Mhm.
So it felt very, it went against kind of everything that I
ingenuine
stand
to you?
for. Yep, absolutely. Just because you have to treat people like they're checks. You know what I mean? And that's all that you treat. It's just such a
no
standardized thing
personability.
throughout there. And I was like getting the job because I was like, damn, dude, I'm going to be able to help people find jobs and it's going to
Right.
feel fulfilling to me. And I'm going to be able to work from home. It's going to be amazing. And there's a lot of great things about the job that it was, but it was also, there was a lot of things that were just not for me personally with how I am.
Right.
And so I would get up and I just like I said, I'd flip my computer on, tear up a little bit. So to make a long story even longer, I was,
No, dude.
you know,
floor is yours.
telling Ash, I was just like, I really want to like quit and I want to quit. And so we went, you know, she was holding me off. She was that voice of reason. It's like,
Mhm.
you know, let's keep some income
Right.
coming in. Let's try to have you be a little bit more busy and, you know, and that was okay. Right. So then Ash got pregnant in January. We unfortunately lost that pregnancy, our first in April of 2022. But when we found out about the pregnancy is when I put in my notice for my job. So we did that middle of January of 2021. So the Shui happened in July of 2021, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And then in February of 2022 was when
Okay.
I ended up going full time. But
Like
really
6
the
months?
reason for that was because she was pregnant and
Okay.
it was too much for me to work that job.
3 different things all at once: pregnancy, day job.
And she's
shoes.
my number one priority over anything else
Mhm.
all the time. So the number one spot was taken. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
For sure.
so now it's like, what am I going to do? And, you know, my parents worked very hard when I was a kid and I was always, safe key. Do you ever have to do
Dude,
safe
I
key?
was in
what's the-
safety
yeah.
and I was a
Where
safety,
are my
and I was a
safety
safety teacher.
kids?
I did both.
There we go. So you know all about the Safe Key.
Yeah.
So Safe Key is an after school or before school program.
Right.
And the children would get dropped off when their parents would go to work. They get picked up after. And I was always, and this is not a knock on against my parents, but I was always the last kid to get picked up from Safe Key.
Yeah.
6:30. You know, the administrators are like, dude, where the fuck are your parents
Yeah,
at?
yeah.
Can I, I'm like 8 years old, dude. I'm like, I lost my lunchbox. I have no idea. You know? So I just wanted something different, right? I just wanted something that was my own, and I wanted to be able to take time and you know, be there.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, unfortunately, you know, we lost the pregnancy in April, but it was one of those things where that allowed me to going full time in February and then having that happen was just, we were able to grieve and to spend time together. And I didn't have to worry about going to a fucking job and clocking in and worrying
Right.
about all this shit. You know what I mean? It gave me the freedom to just heal and to be sad and to, you know, comfort my wife. And I think that was the most important thing.
Right.
You know, that was really like, everything happens for a reason. I'm a really big believer in that. And I felt so compelled to quit my job when we found out about the pregnancy. I
Right.
couldn't think of anything else. And luckily Ashley was nice enough to, you know, to support that vision.
Mhm.
And I truly it just gave us the space to be able to be with each other. And it was the most important thing. And it brought us closer as a couple.
Right.
And so now, you know, obviously nobody ever wants to go through something like that, but you look, you know, almost a year down the road, and I'm not necessarily grateful for the situation, but I'm grateful for the positives that it brought. You know,
Right.
it made some positive changes in me mentally. And I think that I'm thankful for those silver linings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's easy to look at the negatives about a situation, but you're choosing to look at the positives that did come out of a negative situation.
Right.
Yeah, I liked how you worded that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, Shui, and it was like 8 months later, I was
All right,
full time,
so-
you know? And
Yeah. So that was, about 8 months later, February of 2022. So
Mhm.
how's the last year been? Have you been?
well, to be totally honest with you, that first 6 months was brutal. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because we were mourning and we were kind of, I didn't really work. And I was just, again, taking time when I needed to take time. It was a really big thing for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Was, and thankfully my clients were all very understanding and didn't, you know, rush me, and didn't have anybody giving me any attitude or anything like that. I have a lot of, you know, I have really amazing clients. If you're listening, I love you. But yeah, it just, I took the time that I needed, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the most important thing. And that's why, even now that's such a priority for me, because I feel like if I change that and I regress, then I went through everything for nothing.
Mhm.
You know what I
Totally.
mean? I have to continue to be better for my past self. I have to grow, or else,
Right.
what
was it? Yeah.
why did I go through one of the worst times of my life?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm still here to talk about it. So what can I do, and how can I support myself enough to just push myself forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, again, why I always talk about mental health. I always talk about making sure that you do what you need to do to protect your sanity,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of fucking things in this world that are going to test it.
Totally.
You know what I mean? No one fucking lives here but you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, no one lives here but you. And that's why it's so important that you have to take care of yourself, because, again, no one's going to do it for you. No one sees, nobody sees what goes on behind the eyes.
Dude, that quote you said saying no to somebody, saying yes to yourself. That
Mhm.
is so cool. Like, that is, because, like, obviously you think about mental health and you think about yourself, but
Mhm.
then when you reference it like that, it really puts everything into perspective.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
that's something I think is going to stick with me forever. And I think that's also going to be the title of this episode.
I really appreciate that.
Dude,
I love
of
that.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. It means, it really does. It means the world to me. It was something that totally changed my outlook.
Mhm.
And so I always like to share it whenever I can.
Yeah, dude. Insane.
Do you find now? Are you like pretty strict in that? Like, I guess, how do I ask this? Are you strict in like a cutoff hour, like a cutoff time? Like, okay,
yeah.
it's 6 p.m. It's time to cook dinner with Ash.
Mm.
We're chilling. Like, work happened already during the day, or is it like sometimes like?
I almost think it's the opposite. I
Okay.
almost look at it like I have my responsibilities to my wife. I need to make sure that I spend time with her. I need to make sure we spend a lot of time together.
Right.
So it's like, I need to make sure that I'm spending time together. We need to do the things around the house. You know, I need to take advantage of those. But we also, you know, she works nights. And so a lot of the times those nights are times where I'll bang out work.
Okay. So that works in your favor.
I have large stints of time where I'm home alone and I can just do it because, you know, we're spending time together during the day. My day is, I have no restrictions on it because I have nowhere to be. You know what I mean? So I can dedicate a few hours in the morning or the afternoon to her, spend time with her. And then, you know, once or if she has things to do around the house, or if she's doing some photography, doing some editing, that's time that I'll do it too. So it's really just on downtime. Do you usually let it pass?
Yeah,
okay,
that's all
that's
good.
fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Because they'll go outside.
That's okay. So, but yeah, so I usually just try to be mindful about it, spending time with her. And then anytime I'm having downtime is when I work. If I don't have anything to do, I go and work. If I don't
enter the devil's playground,
yeah, it's like, but I'm already home. I spend most of my time at home. So, you know, if we're not doing anything, rather than sitting on a couch or something, I'll be working at the, you know, at the kitchen table or something, or in the spare bedroom or in the garage or wherever I have my shit. And just kind of push it along that way.
Now, if you currently don't have a project or a shoe that you're currently working on, what are you doing? Are you like brainstorming? Are you getting like inspiration?
I would say that there's never a point where I'm not working on a shoe.
Okay.
And I only say that because, I mean, I haven't been without client work since, but it takes a long time. You know what I mean? Like with an 8 to 12 week, I want to make sure I clarify that. I'm not trying to like big dick anything, but it's like with an 8 to 12 week lead time, you know what I mean? You kind of have a constant flow when one starts to phase out.
But you're also allowing yourself to have that flow at your own pace, which is so cool. And I think that's so good, because back to what we were saying about being nice, I feel like I say yes to a lot of shit. It's like, oh, well, can you turn this around in a week? And then I'm just kicking myself. And I'm like, why did I say yes? Like, I just did 12 hours on the computer editing. Why did I say yes? So it's so cool that like I said, you've been doing it a year full time, and like you've already learned these things.
Yeah.
And you've already like stood up for yourself.
Yeah.
And like put your foot down, and like, this is how it needs to be. That's so cool. Cause these are things I'm just now learning.
Yeah. These are things that we're currently going through.
Well, I won't necessarily say I have it all figured out. Right. I think that, because I think I said yes to a lot, but a lot of what I said yes to when I first started out was, doing pairs for friends and making it, you know, accessible, at least what I thought was kind of, you know, accessible for what I could afford to do. But what I ended up doing is taking too many, like I call them F&F pairs, you know what I mean? Friends and family pairs.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't get paid what I get paid on a normal pair, right? If I'm helping out F&F. So it's like, because I was so early on, I was taking in a lot of F&F because they were the people that
was most of your clientele.
That was most of my clientele, because there's people that knew me, that trusted me, that wanted to support me. And I also in turn wanted to support them. But it's hard when you also do it for a discounted rate, because then you have to go and do the work.
Yeah.
Like the shoemaking process is so interesting because you get paid first.
Right.
And then you work 20 hours. And so it's really holding yourself accountable because I already got the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's no more motivation monetarily. Now it's just making sure that I'm doing right by my clients and making sure that happens. But again, I was just saying yes too frequently to friends and family pairs, front loading myself too much, and then killing myself on the back end to get the work done, or having things come up and then me having to go to my friends and say, hey, can I have an extra month or two on these because I have a few things coming up. And of course they're not going to say no. And I always felt a little strange asking that and I didn't do it often, but I did feel the couple of times I asked, I was like, this is kind of fucked up because they're my friends and I know they're going to say yes. And I'm doing it as a courtesy, but I want to be doing it as a courtesy and telling them, but also I know that they're going to say yes. And I don't want them to think that I'm taking advantage of our friendship or anything like that. I always try to think about it because even my friends and family rate back then, because I don't personally actually offer it anymore, but back then it was still a lot of money for a normal person. I don't spend that on shoes for myself.
Right.
Even my friends and family rate, I don't spend that on myself.
Right.
I never bought shoes for that price.
Yeah.
So I understand. People tell me all the time, like people will ask me, oh, how much is your work? Or I want to get a quote, and I'll give them one. Oh, and most people are extremely polite, and they'll say, okay, that's, a little out of my price range. And I say, you know what, like they're out of my price range and I make them. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that not everybody spends their money on this particular good.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were talking about saying yes and kind of doing all that, but I think I forgot what we were initially talking about.
Well, no, I think now I don't recommend it, but I think going through like the gauntlet, so to speak, is a good way. Because like all of us can agree, going through things in a non-healthy way does help us for the latter, right? To then go, yeah, I've done this. I don't want to do this anymore. Or like, let me tailor this back and go, okay, I've done the friends and family. I've done too many shoes. I've done too much stuff. Now I can kind of, fine grain it and then take on less.
Exactly.
And focus on more.
And I do remember you asked me about if I'm not working on a pair, what do I do? Right. So just to touch on that, I think if I ever got to a point where, because sometimes it's not necessarily about not having a pair to work on, but sometimes I'll just hit a wall.
Okay.
And creatively, I'll just hit a wall, or I'll just be like, you know what, like I've made 3 or 4 or 5 pairs of this particular shoe because it's something that I release to the public. And I'm just like getting burnt out on seeing the shoe over and over and over again. So sometimes I'll just take a break and I'll start making something new. I'll make something for her. I'll make something for me. I'll make something for, whatever. Or I can just start another project that I have a little bit more down my queue just to like refresh my creative juices a bit.
Okay.
If I didn't have any client work, I think I would honestly just lean into making myself work and posting it online, because that's really the only thing I do. Is I'm either making pairs for clients or I'm making personal pairs that I'm using to try to sell online.
Right.
You know what I mean? And try to do like a little release or something like
push.
that. And so that's kind of the beauty of it. I feel like it's, if I ever feel like I'm running out or I don't have work, I just make more and I try to get it. And sometimes it doesn't work. You know what I
mean? Is that how you like to solve? If you ever were to get in a creative rut, is that kind of your remedy? Maybe try something different? Or do you have a go-to thing that helps you get out of a creative rut? Do you and your wife like to go and do certain things, or anything like walk the dog, smoke some weed?
Oh,
watch a movie. I don't know, like anything go to like really just ease the mind and take a break.
I feel like we are constantly in a state of just really trying to make sure that we're at ease and at rest. Good. And I think that's the reason why I don't experience burnout as much as I did in the past. Okay. Right. I don't want to say that I don't as a person experience burnout, because I have and definitely do. But because we focus so much on balance, and again, this is all relatively new. This is all in the last year we feel this way because of the things that have gone on both in our professional and personal lives. And so we just really value that downtime. And I think when you give yourself that, it's easier to stay creative and motivated, because I'm not feeling like I'm spreading myself too thin on the other side. Like, burning the candle, or, burning the candle at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but also I love footwear. You know what I mean? I love shoes. I've always been a big sneakerhead. And so for me, that is a constant fuel to my fire, because I just fucking love it. You know what I mean? I love the shoe thing. I talk to people that are in the leather industry and they're like, oh, you should make watch straps because you can make money off of it. You can. And I'm like, I don't fucking want to. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make shoes because
that's what you love.
Because there's a fucking feeling that you get when you put on a new pair of sneakers. You know what I mean? There's a feeling that you get. And I chase that feeling.
Yeah, look good, feel good.
Look good, feel good.
Yeah.
And there's something about footwear. And I'll say this. I do think that the genesis to my obsessive kind of feelings towards footwear, I think it comes from my mother.
Okay.
I'm going to blame her.
There you go.
I hope you're listening.
That's always good.
I hope you're listening.
Yeah.
She would come in. She's an angel. She would come into my room when I was a kid. Again, she worked a lot. And so she would have her work dress on. She'd have usually a heel.
What did your mother do for work?
Anything she possibly could. She was selling shoes at night at Caesar's Palace. She was working a bunch of different jobs during the day. She's amazing. She's in homeowners association, like HOA stuff now, but she's awesome. Anyway, she would come into my room. She would have her dress on, a shoe on her left, different shoe on her right. And she would say, hey, which one do you think I should wear? And no matter what I said, anytime I picked a shoe, she would wear that shoe for the day.
That's awesome.
And it was always a special thing for me in the morning. And I think for me, it just sensationalized that footwear aspect of it. And I just kind of always built that up in my head, was like, the shoes are going to make the outfit.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the shoes are going to make the whole thing. And I'm sure people disagree with me, but that's what it felt like in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think ever since then, I just always had that fascination with footwear, but also my family didn't have a bunch of money when I was growing up to buy Jordans and Nikes and all this shit. You know what I mean? So when I finally started making my own money when I was a teenager, all of it went to shoes.
Yeah.
All of it, dude. I was wearing the same pair of jeans that I got from Marshall's. Like, I'd wear them like 3 days a week at school, but I always had a different pair of shoes.
Nice.
I could give a shit about what jeans I was wearing. I was wearing a hoodie and some jeans, but I always had on a different pair of sneakers.
Right. Don't focus on the outfit.
That's
just
good.
focus on the shoes.
Yeah. You're not going to remember these Calvin Klein jeans tomorrow.
Not gonna remember my Lee pipes.
Yeah. You're not gonna know.
What's your favorite shoe? What's your favorite silhouette? Personally, not to make, but like you, Jordan. What's one pair for the rest of your life?
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was
gosh.
gonna say. Yeah.
I think there's 2 different pairs, actually. One pair for the rest of my life is a little different, I think, than my favorite.
Okay.
So favorite model, Jordan 4. I just think it's so amazing. I love the long tongue. I love the netting. I think everything about the shoe is just such a sleek looking shoe.
Yeah, the netting is
it's
pretty
so cool.
Okay.
But as far as like, if I have to have one shoe wearability wise, the Jordan 1 Low is a really difficult one to beat, just because of the wearability aspect of it. Can't wear 4s with everything, but you can wear a pair of Jordan 1 Lows with damn near anything that you can possibly put on. And that's why I make so many Nikes and Jordan 1s, is because they go with everything, but they're also super popular right now. You know what I mean?
The accessibility.
People love them. And it's also nice because I have a lot of options for donor soles, where if I'm making something like a 4 or a 5 or an 11 or something else, it's much more difficult to get donor soles. You have to pay more for them. Right. So the fact that 1s are so saturated right now is actually helpful.
So is that more so on your end, that what you want to make, or is that more so on like the market? The market. Like
more market
than what you want.
I like making them. I mean, the Jordan 1 Low is truly like, if I could pick one shoe to wear for the rest of my life, I would select that shoe. So I love that shoe, Jordan 1 Low OG. But it's not necessarily like my favorite. I think it's just because its simplicity is what makes it timeless.
Right.
Where the Jordan 4 is a basketball shoe. It's got that look. It's bulky. It's kind of like, you know, it's got some details to it. It's just a different type of shoe.
Definitely.
Yeah. How about you? What are you a sneaker person, or?
Yeah.
How are you?
Those are my Jordan 1s. Yeah. I wore them here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
They're underneath the bag.
So I grew up loving shoes. I've always loved shoes. Childhood was same type of thing. You know, like my mom, I a single mom, and you know, she worked as much as she could, but I grew up skateboarding. So I'd fucking tear through shoes nonstop. So it was kind of more of a necessity over, I've always loved shoes, but I always needed new shoes because skateboarding.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes. So if I had to wear one pair of shoes for the rest of my life, I think, I like Ultra Boosts. Yeah, because of the comfortability, and I could work in them all day long. And then also too, you know, I think they look good if they're new. But I do love the Jordan 1s. Well, yeah, no, they can go to shit real quick, and especially when you're working with them.
Yeah, they don't look good.
And then they don't look the greatest with pants.
It is a tough shoe to wear.
It's a nice short shoe, like Air Max 90s. I love with shorts. I don't love them with pants.
That's true.
It's a good summer shoe. But yeah, I would say Ultra Boosts.
It's true, they don't. Yeah, they don't really work with pants.
Yeah, but then if my all-time favorite, I just got into Jordan 1s, and then I love the Dunk Lows, and then I love Vans. Yeah, old schools.
Old schools, for sure.
Yeah, those work great, but they suck to work in. Like your back will kill you if you have a long day.
Yeah, I recently got out of that. Like for like the longest, I was like Vans. Like that's I'm simple $40. Like that's all.
And then
I
you turn 30, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, dude. Like literally, like it wasn't until like a few years ago where it's like, oh, there's different shoes that exist in the world, and then I started to like. I'm still not really like a sneaker. I'm not like a sneaker head.
What pair did you just get? Those Dunk Lows.
Yeah, the green ones. I got the shit. But yeah, I got the Grateful Dead green.
Oh, really?
Don't guess. Yeah, they're full disclaimer, they're dupes.
Oh, okay.
because I don't care for the band, but I like the color, and I'm not gonna pay $1,500 for.
Well, I was like thinking that in my head. I was like, damn, dude, that's like an expensive.
No, yeah, dude,
pair.
my wife turned me on to DH Gate, and now I'm like, oh shit, I could buy fucking for 2 pairs of shoes.
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so I was Vans for like the longest time, and then recently I'm like, oh, there's different shoes out there.
Yeah.
So now I'm like into New Balances.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Reebok.
One pair the rest of your life.
One pair the rest of my life. It's a 2-parter like Jordans. So comfortability, function, I'd probably go with the Reebok Club C. They're just so comfy. They just feel like, but like as far as one pair style wise, yeah, I'd probably go with like a Dunk Low. I don't know. But like not wearing wise, because like they're like after a while you're like, yeah, I feel like I'm wearing a.
Exactly, they're not very comfortable.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised with how much more comfortable Jordans were than Dunks, but I still think that Ultra Boosts are the best.
Yeah, that boost, man.
Have you ever worn Air Max 270s? They're ugly as shit.
No,
Yeah.
But they're like a great like if I'm working a corporate event, I wear those. Because they're a little more firm, and I feel like they last all day. With the Ultra Boost, at the end of the day, they do feel like they start to compress a bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, my buddy actually was on the team of developers that developed that 270 airbag.
oh, sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's another good summer shoe. But then like corporate black Lululemon pants, they look fucking great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they're comfortable.
You know what's so funny too is you brought up dupes. It's so interesting how in the sneaker community, it's still a little polarizing
Can I
to be
ask
totally
your opinion on all this? Yeah.
I have a very I'll tell you my opinion on it, right? Because I think I wish more people felt this way. So when I was a kid, that shit was not like accepted like it is now. Like you were clowned for wearing fake shit when I was a kid. Because people fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have very much money, right? I wanted to get my first pair of shoes. So I got like $40 together and I bought a used pair of Jordans that I thought were going to be my first pair of Jordans on eBay back in the day, right? When I was like 15. Come to find out that they were fake. I had no clue that was even a thing. Right. I was like, fake. Like I'm holding them in my hand. There's no way they're
right here.
And someone at school, like I said, called me out on it. And I was so embarrassed. And I went home and I was just so upset. I was, like I said, 14 or 15, so crushed. And my mom was so sweet. She was like, well, we'll get you a real pair. And so like, I ended up getting a real pair, like a week or two later.
So what were they?
They were Jordan 1 Low. They were a Jordan 1 Low that came out in 2001, I think. Or I'm sorry, a Jordan 1 Mid. People hate mids too in the Jordan 1 or in the Jordan community.
Well, I was saying back then too, I feel like the low wasn't as accepted as now.
People hated the lows. So now it's like, and anyway, but people are whatever Travis Scott wears, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so I ended up getting a white and baby blue patent leather pair of Jordan 1 mids that came out in 2001. They were definitely used, but I got them. And that really started finding out that other pair was fake kind of opened up Pandora's box for me. Cause I was like, what does that mean?
Right.
And then I got obsessive over it because I felt so bad in that moment that I was like, I'm never going to feel this way again. I'm going to make sure that I'm like so ultra knowledgeable when it comes to footwear because it was such a passion of mine that I was like, I'm going to make sure this never happens again. Within months, I knew everything there was to possibly know about every shoe that had ever come out. Ever.
Yeah.
I could tell you up until like 2012, maybe, because I that was when I took a break in collecting. But I could probably tell you every, like, if you ask me when a shoe released or what the details behind it were, I could probably tell you.
That's the developing age. Like it was the same thing. That's when I got my first camera when I was 16 and it's just all day on the internet, nonstop.
Yeah.
YouTube.
You have this fuel and you just you can just zone in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's interesting. I never heard that the development age.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like, and then luckily in our age too, that's right when YouTube just started to really gain traction. So like
that's true. 2012.
I have a degree from YouTube University for my career.
Wow.
Like I learned everything on YouTube.
That's
like,
awesome.
I took 2 or 3 college classes. I dropped out. I was like, I know more than you. Like just all it's just all YouTube, man.
You don't know shit.
Dude, YouTube was like a second father for me growing up.
Exactly.
Like I didn't know how to tie a tie. I was on YouTube.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's so amazing. And we look at you just look at the information sharing and how different things are now.
Mhm.
It's like, and like you said, you made the comment like, oh, I know more than you. And it's like truly, I had this debate. Actually, this is going to be a fun one to bring up, but I had this debate a little bit ago, and then we can jump back on the rep thing. But somebody was like, yeah, I just think that with AI and with all of these things happening, just the age of artists is going to die off. There's not going to be artists, right? That was what somebody said.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't feel more opposite than that.
Yeah.
I personally feel like there's so much information and resources that are available to people now that you can find info immediately. If you're a kid and you're curious about something, you can find information on that right away with zero lag time.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like if you wanted to get into painting, if you wanted to get into photography when you were a kid, 16, when you got your first camera, you had to go out and buy a camera, and you probably didn't have anybody to show you how to use it. And you had to figure it out. And you took so many you took a bunch of photos that you could never use, and you feel your way through the dark. Now it's like, there's so much available that I feel like the learning curve has been shortened to almost nothing. And then you can take that time to really fall into your artistry because you're getting the technical aspect out of the way early.
Yeah.
So I feel like this next age of kids that are children now, 20 years from now, we're already seeing it with the younger generation. My sister's 18, right? And all of her friends are extremely creative, very, very creative people. Maybe it's just her circle. I don't know.
Right.
But I do think like this next wave of children that comes up and becomes adults in the next 20 years, I think the art is going to be on another level. And I think that because of how automated everything is, that personal touch and that human touch is what's going to really create that charm moving forward.
Really sell
I think it'll still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we'll definitely see like an influx of AI
Sure,
things that we're not used to. That's different. But yeah, I still think that we'll still have like all the human.
Yeah. Artistry
elements.
won't change.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I truly do think that we're going to see better artists. I mean, I look at it everywhere. I look at these high school basketball players and I'm like, there was nobody doing this shit in high school.
Right.
And why are they doing it? Because they have resources and they can look to people and they can find people breaking the mold online. And you're not just looking at what's playing on TV. You're not just listening to what's on the radio. You have the ability to see all of these different amazing things and people doing amazing things, and they share how they do it. And so that's such a big thing for me is supporting that too.
Yeah. It's the networking. It's the everybody sharing knowledge.
Totally.
And that's, supporting that. That's kind of like what this whole podcast is about, is just us supporting like local people and all being here for each other. Same type of thing, but it is beautiful that these kids have that. But I can see it going two directions, either super creative or fucking super like it's too easy, like super lazy, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
there is a lot of copycat art, which is, it's discouraging maybe.
Right.
To I'm sure maybe some starting artists, because they're like, dude, this person does the same shit that everybody else does.
Yeah, how do I?
And you know what I mean? And like, well, how am I going to be different? I struggled with that a lot with my own work. Is how am I going to be different? I always felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I always felt like my pairs weren't like special enough, and that they weren't detailed, and all of these things. And then I finally, like within the last 6 months, maybe, accepted my work for kind of what it is, right? Like I try to make clean pieces of work where the detail is not going to be in using some weird, crazy shit and making a shoe that looks like wild. You know what I mean? Like I want to make something that is so wearable, made out of the most premium materials that I can possibly get my hands on. And I want to make sure that the construction of that product is top tier.
Yeah.
That's my work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to make the glow in the dark shit and the light up shit and like the neon shit. That's not that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, and that kind of touches back on when people approach me and say, hey, I want to do X, Y, Z. Like, I'll take a challenge all day. But like, if you want me to do, if you want me to hodgepodge a bunch of like Gucci onto a fucking, I'm not going to do it. It's just not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, yeah, I completely agree. So back to the dupes.
Yeah.
What is the stance on them?
So my personal stance on it is, so I bought a pair of fakes out of almost necessity because I didn't have the financial means or the knowledge to go and buy them. Right. And then I was shamed for that.
Yeah.
And they're kids, whatever, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But
Yeah, dude,
it was
yeah.
just one of those things where I was like, you know what, this is fucked up. And like, I shouldn't be feeling this way and nobody should be feeling this way. So I got
For
super
sure.
knowledgeable and I'd have people come up and go, hey, are those kids' shoes real over there? And I'd be like, I'm not going to fucking tell you.
Yeah. What does it
So
matter?
what? So if they're not, you can go and fucking,
Yeah.
no.
You
Go
go
fucking
berate
be
him.
asshole
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I learned everything I possibly could. And I just think that obsession really played into me as an artist
Yeah.
these days, because when I tell you that I can pick out the smallest thing,
That's
the
awesome.
smallest thing, because sometimes that's the difference maker between a fake and a real product.
Yeah.
And I've got a Nike tattoo, so I don't necessarily buy reps,
Right.
but I think that not everybody spends $300 on sneakers, and that it's okay if you want to buy a pair of Grateful Deads for
Right.
60, 70 bucks because you like the way the fucking shoe looks, dude.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. You know what I mean?
Especially
and anyone,
when it's gate kept at $1,500,
Dude, and
or whatever,
anyone that says
however much they are.
otherwise-
Yeah, it was easily like, yeah, those.
yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
if you say otherwise, dude, like you just like think about it. Think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the fact that not everybody prioritizes the same things you do. Not
Yeah.
everyone is going to have the means to spend
Right.
what they want to spend on that. And it's okay if somebody wants to spend less on a product.
Totally.
That has nothing
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
with you. You know what I mean? If they
Exactly.
want to spend less on a
Yeah,
product.
see, that's
Does it necessarily help the integrity of the brand? No, but I don't work for Nike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
like, so until they do, my stance is buy what you want, buy what you like, wear what you like, and prioritize what you need to prioritize
yeah.
to keep yourself happy, because worrying about what other people think about what you're doing, like that's
Mhm.
all being self-conscious really is. It's thinking how is this going to be received by other people? Has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You bought the shoes.
Yeah.
You know you like them. You know you want to wear them.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
you're going to enjoy wearing
Right.
them. And the only reservation is going, what are other people going to say? Fuck
And
them.
what does that matter?
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, because I mean, in my
Yeah.
particular case, like I don't care because one, it's
You know, it's funny. I had no idea. I just brought them up. Like,
yeah, no, I
I was like, oh, those are cool.
I
I
like
had no
sh-
idea what they were.
No, I
Yeah.
like sharing that they're dupes because again, they're like my first pair out of like whatever, 10 pairs I have that are not real.
hmm
And I don't care because like I said, I like the color that I know I'm going to wear a handful of times. It's
Yeah.
a very specific shoe. Like it's fucking green and blue. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to wear it every day.
And you're like, am I going to spend $2,000 on a
$2,000, like I
shoe
said,
that I'm not
based
going to wear?
around-
Just for a flex.
Yeah, it's
basically.
based around
Yeah.
a band that I don't
That
care.
you
So
don't
we
even-
take
yeah.
that element out of it. And then it's just a really colorful shoe that I'm not going to wear all the time. Yeah, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't care. Like
And that
this
makes
isn't
sense.
high school, like you said, where it's like, oh my God, nerd, they're fake. But like, dude, I'm in my 30s. Like, yeah, they're fake.
Dude, their
I
new
don't
shit
care.
now is like, so now the new thing is like calling people out for wearing bricks and not so like a brick, which
Yeah.
I hate the term,
What is that?
is considered a shoe that didn't do well retail wise.
Oh, I've heard the yeah.
Oh, so it's a real shoe, but it's just like not.
It's just not
it's
hyped.
It's it's like a flop basically.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Like
a
it just
flop,
didn't
right?
move.
They'll call it a brick, they'll call it a flop. And so
Yeah.
now the new thing is like, oh, you're wearing bricks. And it's like, that's the new age, like shaming people for wearing reps. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm wearing real Air Jordans
Mhm.
that, you know what I mean? And like, not me personally, but like someone's wearing real Air Jordans, or even if they're not, and you're going to call them bricks. Like
Yeah.
if you do that, stop doing that shit.
Well, when I first, a few years ago, when I first having a little bit of money for shoes, I would go on StockX, and then I would find like the pair or the silhouette I like, and then I would go to sort by lowest to highest.
Yeah, of
I'd
course.
find the fucking cheap
Start
ones.
low, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Cause you're like, I like this shoe. I don't necessarily care about the color.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But it's also like in the shoe community, it's opposite.
Yeah.
People are like, the colorway is everything.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Well, not necessarily. Jordan 1s were Jordan 1s, and sometimes shoes will release no matter what.
Oh yeah, it's just
A Travis Scott releases, and no matter what it looks like, people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
like those all black ones. I think they're super ugly, but
They weren't my personal favorites.
Yeah.
I
I've never
mean,
seen them. I've only ever seen people post the
I have heard
Bocas.
that they looked better in person. I heard that
Okay.
the materials were really nice in person, but
I also hate triple black shoes. It's just like no.
it's a tough
depth
one.
to
Feels
them.
like a restaurant worker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the
What's the brand? Do you know the brand? The
No.
non-slip shoes?
Well, I know there's clogs. That's what nurses typically wear.
No,
but
yeah,
those are
but they're
more like,
like-
Croc.
yeah, they're like you said, they're the hospitality.
Yeah.
But yeah, New Balance just came out with some all black. They were like the 570s or whatever, and like all the comments were like, "Bro, like my mom has a pair. Like,
Oh my
I got 6 of these, dude.
gosh.
I'm a bar back. Like I got all these. Like,
Yeah.
why are you dropping hype beast shoes? When like, bro, these are just hospitality shoes.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. Yeah. It's funny. We've been talking. I think I want to do a pair of New Balances soon.
Yeah.
Because I love what New Balance is
Yeah.
doing. They're doing some really amazing things in the market. And the 650, the high top version of the 550,
Yeah.
when ALD did their like initial release of that shoe last year, I picked them up, and that has been like a shoe I love wearing.
Dude, I just recently picked up 2 pairs like within the last month, and I
Yeah.
can't believe I slept on New Balances.
They're
Yeah.
but they also have stepped it up. So
Yeah.
it's like granted the 574 has always been like a classic. You got the 991, 997, but like they've been really kind of.
I didn't even know they have a skate team. They have a whole.
Oh, see, I had no clue.
Do you know who Andrew Reynolds is?
Yeah, I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, dude.
Andrew Reynolds is on New Balance.
Wow.
Now. Oh shit.
He was with America for like forever, and now he's on fucking New Balance. So that's how prevalent New Balance is now.
Yeah,
because I also feel the same way about New Balance.
Well, I mean,
I didn't really know shit about.
They're just trying to run with it, man. They signed Jack Harlow as. Oh no, he's Puma. No,
he's New
Balance.
He's the 550s.
Yeah, he's
like
New Balance.
Made them like.
So it's like, they have him. They're signing athletes. They signed like that Mikey Williams. I think he might be Puma too. I always mix them up. I don't think he's New Balance, but Kawhi is New Balance. They've got some good athletes.
Right.
And so, and I'm not going to lie, man, their apparel recently has looked good.
Sick?
I haven't seen their
good. They had some, like we were at Complex Con in LA, I don't know, a couple months ago. And they had like a little installment there. They had some cool looking shit.
That's awesome.
I was really impressed.
I do notice, like if I judge style, there's like a couple like DJs. Like DJ5, Eric Deluxe, those guys, they dress really cool and they have like their own clothing line. So I see them wearing New Balance. I'm like, oh, that's what's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's cool. I know what, because
cool,
like I judge what they wear off what's in right now,
Yeah. That they're tapped in.
Yeah. So yeah.
Which is actually kind of funny, like being a DJ, because like for the most part, you're in a dark booth that no one's going to see. So it's kind of ironic.
Well, I think it's ironic, but I think it's also more for them and more for like their group of friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the 10 people around you are going to see it, but no one else will.
Yeah. It's all about wearing what you like. I used to feel really self-conscious about wearing my sneakers. Like, because again, I always loved them and I had accumulated like a pretty good collection when I was in high school, but post high school, I felt weird about it. I felt like people were treating me weird for wearing them, and maybe, especially being in that 21, that college age. It's a super insecure age. And you're constantly, you want to be an adult, but you're not really.
Dude, right?
Really, you're not. Yeah. But it's like, you want to be an adult, but you're not. And you want to, appear more mature. And then you get over that when you turn 30 or something like that. And you're like, I think it hits
at like 26 to 30. Yeah, you kind of hit like a switch and you're just like, I really don't care. Like, I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like. And like, it is what it is.
I dress for comfort now. And I love wearing my sneakers. They make me feel good. I make it a point now to, when I'm not wearing like my handmade pairs, I'm breaking out a pair of Jordans. I'm wearing some 4s and,
right.
At the end of the day, it's like, why have them if I don't rock them? You know what I mean?
What's your, sorry.
I was going to say, which is totally different from how I felt before.
What's your go-to beater shoe?
Yeah, what's your daily driver?
So you got to do some yard work, or you got to do
or errands.
Yeah, but like something that like you're like, oh, if I trash these right now, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, I will say, because I'm home all the time, my daily wears are my UGG slip-ons, dude. I just wear those around the house nonstop. Yeah. But
I'm a Croc guy. But,
I got the Birkenstock Bostons.
Yeah, the Bostons are great. I want to switch out I just talked about that to Ash. The straps on those are so easy to swich out. Yeah. Like I want to switch out a strap on a Boston, do something really cool with it. If you want me to do that, let me know.
Sure,
I'll do them for you.
Yeah.
I like a pair you already have. We'll just do something cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not? But I think like if I'm ever like Chucks, usually will be like, if I have to get my hair cut or if I have to like, I'll throw on a pair of Chucks. Chuck 70s specifically. It's my favorite. Nice. Really, the only Converse that I wear would be a Chuck 70.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the only Converse anyone wears.
I never got into Converse. That was always Vans. I feel like it's Vans. Well, skateboarding Vans pertain more to skateboarding, I think, than Chucks.
Yeah, Chucks were basketball in the 70s.
And they made you run faster, right? When you played baseball. Sandlot
reference. I get you. The All-Stars.
Yeah. Were those PF Flyers?
I was going to say they were called different.
Yeah. Are those Chucks?
No, they're like
I'll go fuck myself.
They were just like I think they were honestly like, I don't want to call them a knockoff because they're not, but they were like
similar silhouette.
Yeah, I was going to say they weren't coined the first. Yeah, they were the PF Flyers.
Yeah. But they were that hard toe, like canvas shoe from the 80s. You know what I mean?
But they did make you run fast and jump fences.
Yeah.
Absolutely proven.
Proven if you've ever watched the movie.
Yeah.
Do you and your wife have a go-to favorite local spot, like local restaurant?
Oh, 100%.
Date night?
EDO Tapas. EDO Spanish Tapas. Okay. Dude.
Where is it?
Spring Mountain and Jones. I think it's Spring Mountain and Jones area. And this place is awesome. It's really nice and like not too large. It's not too big of a space. honestly, the dining area is probably like these 2 rooms combined. So it's a good space, but it's
like
intimate.
Yeah.
And it's kind of darker. And do the chef's tasting menu when you go. It's like $65 or something. Just be prepared to pay the $65.
Yeah,
EDO
yeah.
tapas. We call it EDO, but I think it's an acronym.
And it's Spanish.
Spanish tapas, but it's not super Spanish in cuisine. It doesn't feel like overly Spanish. You can tell that there's some influences there, but it's so good. It definitely feels Mediterranean. Nice. But not so much maybe Spanish specific, but
nice.
They have, they have these potatoes.
Yeah. What's your go-to? What do you guys enjoy?
Well, like I said, the tasting menu changes. So just get the tasting menu. You'll be so happy that you did. It's amazing. The food is great. And if you have any type of food sensitivities or allergies, they accommodate and they don't ask. They're so accommodating. It's awesome. It's awesome. But they have these potatoes bravas, which are like mandolins, thinly sliced potatoes that they like layer like 15 or 20 times. Put it into a sheet pan. I think they probably cool it, freeze it, and then air fry it. And so you get these like flaky, like it's like a Butterfinger, but potato with no chocolate on it. But you know what I mean? But like it's crazy. They're so good. Get the potatoes bravas and get the chef's tasting menu. It is so good. But date night, if we ever celebrate anything, we go there.
Nice.
Cool. You may see us there.
Yeah, I haven't. I've ate. So my wife did a little like campaign with them years ago, and we did something with a food truck at Life is Beautiful.
Oh, that's cool. Really?
But that was like Life is Beautiful 2019. So I did have them, but it was years ago.
That's crazy.
But I haven't been to their. I don't know if they were a food truck then they had the restaurant or it was simultaneous, but I've never been to the restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant was awesome. And you said you're by you're in the Southwest. So they have a restaurant called Anima that's in the Gramercy. That's in Gramercy. Which is Russell and 215 right there. And they have a restaurant, but it's more Italian. But they still do a chef's tasting menu. They still have the potatoes bravas there. So if you're maybe a little bit more on the Italian side, you're like, that sounds a little bit better. Yeah. Go to Anima instead of Edo. But if you want more Mediterranean, more fish, I would say at Edo.
A little lighter.
Ish. No. It's a tasting
I'm
menu.
Thinking like Italian versus like Mediterranean.
That's true, yeah.
But they try to balance it like with the amount of food and stuff. They do such an amazing job. I can't say enough good things about them. And like I said, I used to eat very, 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 very strict. Yeah. So many different dietary restrictions. So because they were so accommodating, I will always call that out. Yeah, nice. Always, because they're dope.
Nice.
Question for you. Vegas summer or Vegas winter?
Or fuck both of them in Vegas, spring and fall.
There we go. The 1 month we get on each side.
Because I've been seeing everyone, they're like, oh, I can't wait for summer. And I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I think I'm more winter. It's not that I don't like being outside. It's just that it's too fucking hot here.
That's what I'm saying. But
it's too hot.
I see everyone and they're like, oh, bring me back warmer days. And I'm like, then we're in summer and everyone's dying. Like just let us enjoy some winter. Let us enjoy some fucking spring, some fall, but like summer.
I feel that.
Like, no one's missing it.
I hold on to the winter and like the colder. Plus it's like, I really like to be cozy. So it's like if I can throw a hoodie on
differently,
if I can throw a hoodie on, some comfy pants and some sneakers, like and a beanie or something, I'm stoked.
Right.
Yeah. And in summer, I'm like, what's my lightest weight material that I could possibly find? Yeah. So that way I don't spontaneously combust when I'm outside.
You also don't want to do anything. So you're not like, it's weird because like in winter here, we get like seasonal depression because it gets dark so early. But then I also feel like we have summer depression in the sense of like, you just don't like, you have to really like something to go somewhere. You're like, oh yeah, you're there. Ugh.
You risk a 3rd degree burn from your seatbelt every single time you get in your car in the summer.
You're like, I like you, Jordan, but like, I really don't want to like go to the pool or like go out right now. Like, let's wait till nightfall.
Yeah. We're going to have to park outside.
And then we're going to have to re-enter that car.
Yeah. So I just want you to think about that and know that that's why I'm saying no. I'm saying yes to myself because I don't want to get burned.
What's one piece of kit that you use that you couldn't live without? Could be anything as far as like a pocket knife or a tool that you use for making shoes or a piece of photography equipment or or your guys' mattress that you sleep on every night.
I'll have 2. I think I have 2. My first one is my X-Acto knife.
Okay.
I use it all the time. Smart. And I cut all of my patterns. I hand cut everything that you see on my page. So everything is cut with my one same X-Acto knife.
So do you have like is Is it like a special X-Acto knife?
I
Like
want to get a
you-
cool one. It's
Okay.
not. It's contoured, so it helps, but it's not like. I would love like a hand carved one or have
that'd be
something
sexy,
like
dude.
really neat. I would
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that. So anybody listen out there,
Right.
But yeah, my X-Acto knife, I do like 90% of my work with it. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's just my go-to. Switch out blades like crazy. But honestly, my camera is another one because it's so important. Like nowadays, we're just taking it everywhere.
You came in with it around your neck.
Yeah.
Because we struggle with getting content. I struggle with getting content.
Mhm.
I'm not. I don't get in that mindset. When I'm working, I'm just super focused on just doing the best work that I possibly can. That like thinking about getting content just doesn't do it for me. Luckily, my wife will come in. She'll like snap a few photos of me
That's
while I'm
awesome.
working or do something like that. But like for the most part, I have to have my camera with me because
That's
then
awesome.
if opportunity strikes and I can have a place,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm kind of wearing some, I wear some sneakers anytime I can because if I
Right.
can have an opportunity to just snap
Self-promotion.
a quick shot.
Mhm.
Then we can use that for the Instagram and it kind
Nice.
of helps alleviate some of that. But yeah, X-Acto knife and my camera, man. And my wife.
Do you struggle with that sometimes of like you're already in the process of making something and then you're like, oh fuck, I should have filmed that or I should have documented it, or are you just like,
I think for me, it's like, I know I should document everything because people love to see it.
right?
People love to see it, but it's also very difficult. It's shoemaking's not hard. I do want to say that. Like shoemaking is not hard. Anybody can do it. If anybody wants to learn how to do it, hit me up.
Right.
But it is hard at the same time. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of care that happens.
Would you say it's not hard to do, but it's hard to be good at?
Yeah, I definitely
Is
would
that what it
say it's not hard to do, but it's hard to master, right?
Yeah.
But it's really
Yeah.
not either. You know what I mean? Everything
Okay.
seems hard until you fucking do it. Everything
Yeah.
seems impossible until you do it. And I felt the same way about shoemaking. I thought, dude, I first saw this type of work and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like it was a dream to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And there
What
you
do
are.
you mean?
100%.
Do you know off the top of your head what you looked at that gave you that inspiration? Was there like a specific person or shoe or?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, the sneaker thing for me has just been embedded. I don't know why, to be honest with you, but
Well, your mom, your childhood.
yeah, my mom,
all
my
the
childhood.
above.
I was my dad to this day will say that I was named after Michael Jordan. My mom says I'm not, but that was the narrative, right? And
Okay.
so, and I do remember like my dad would, because Kobe was more our generation's
Yeah.
like guy.
Mhm.
Right. Like as far as basketball, like he was the
Yeah.
one we got the end of Jordan,
I was gonna say we got the end of Jordan,
but we didn't get prime Jordan.
yeah, we
really.
didn't grow up because he's like what, like
Well, it's like
96. I'm 7 years old. Like I'm not like,
and that was his third. That was his second three-peat.
right.
So the first one we were like infants,
Yeah,
toddlers. You know
5
what I
years
mean?
old. I'm not like,
So I saw a lot of Michael Jordan. I watched a ton of Michael Jordan stuff growing up. But anyway, it was so embedded in me. What was the question? I'm so sorry. I feel like I
No,
got
so
sidetracked
you mentioned that you remembered that you saw a piece of shoe that inspired you to start
Yes.
creating shoes. So I was curious if there was a specific shoe or artist that did that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what I was saying was I do just have a natural gravitation towards footwear,
Mhm.
towards the sneakers. I loved Michael Jordan, watching him growing up. But a gentleman that used to go, well, he still does go by the shoe surgeon. He's pretty much the trailblazer.
Oh,
We
yeah.
met him.
Oh, did you? Yeah, Dom. Yeah, he's
We shot a wedding and he did a custom shoe for the groom.
yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
didn't like meet
awesome.
him in that thing, but like he presented the shoe to
And
our
we're
groom, and
documenting
we're
it.
like, oh fuck, the custom sneaker, like that's sick, and yeah,
so cool. So he was really the trailblazer and the first person that I had ever seen
Mm-hmm.
hand making sneakers that wasn't in a factory.
Yeah.
So he was pretty much the first person that I had seen online that I was like, wow, I've never, it totally like unlocked I will say it removed a limitation in my mind,
okay,
right? A limitation that we all put up. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that. We're constantly thinking, how much shit you have to do. And that was something that I just idolized. I thought it was so cool. And it was one thing that was always in my mind, but I always had that voice in my head saying like, oh yeah, like, you know how
right,
there's a billion reasons why you
Yeah,
can't do it.
intricate that is.
And so, and like I said, it's really not. And, but he was, he definitely was, and it's funny too, because it's such a full circle moment that I guess the last few months have really been full circle, because he was someone who for years, I don't really remember when I first started following him, but I know it's been at least since before I met Ash. I mean, and we've been together for 6 years. So it's like, I've been following him probably for 8 to 10 maybe.
Yeah.
And I'd been seeing his shit, and it was always just very innovative, and I'd never seen anything like it. It was so interesting to me. So he has an academy in LA. And you asked me about it.
Yeah, that was the spot you showed. Yeah,
Yep. So I was there a couple of weeks back, which I'll get to. But he has an academy in LA, and I was pretty much right leading up into COVID saving up for that class. It was a few $1,000.
Cool. Oh shit.
Yeah, it was a few $1,000s. I knew that I was going to have to buy a machine when I got back, all the tools, everything, room and board. I knew it was going to be a pricey kind of experience for me. And then when COVID happened, I was like, right now, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to do, because I don't even know if I was, when COVID was at its height too, I was still dealing with Hashimoto's disease, which is just an autoimmune thyroid disease. Mm-hmm. So I was very particular about where I was going, how much exposure I was giving myself, because nobody knew anything. You know what I mean? So I was scared. You know what I mean? I was scared to go places because I was immunocompromised. So I ended up finding that consultation, or that virtual class on pattern making, and which, to be honest with you, I'm so happy I learned pattern making, because it's allowed me to really make anything I want to now, because I have that skill. Like pattern making, I think, is what anyone should learn before if you really want to explore shoemaking as a craft, learn pattern making first, because you can buy patterns and like you can totally feel your way through it, and it's okay, and you'll be able to do it. But there's something special about being able to even alter a pattern that you buy, or just creating a pattern yourself and hand drawing it is really cool.
It's awesome.
It's fun. You know what I mean?
So it just teaches you all the fundamentals.
Yeah. And it teaches you kind of how, but also it's a lot of planning in your head too, when you're pattern making, because things go on top of other things, and you have to think about how things are going to lay, and internally what things are going to look like. So developing a shoe is a little different than just making a Jordan 1 by hand that has a blueprint that you know exactly how it is. You tear a Jordan 1 apart, and you can see what goes into it. Right. And you can figure out how you can do yours, because there's only a handful of components. But seeing Dom's work was just one of those things where I always looked forward to it, saved up for the class. And then unfortunately COVID hit. I did the pattern making course, learned shoemaking that way. And then I was just at the Shoe Surgeons Academy 2 or 3 weeks ago as a guest instructor. And that was my, that was my first time ever being a part of that class. And they invited me out there to be a guest instructor.
Awesome. So you got to like hang out with him and like,
yeah, he was a little in and out.
But work with him at least.
He was a little in and out. So he was there for a couple of the days. He's super busy. So it's, I definitely didn't expect him to like be teaching the course. Mm-hmm. It was me and 2 other gentlemen that were teaching it, and he would pop in and say hi and, kind of do his thing. They were using something called Swatchbook, which was a really cool app that we were able to do digital renderings and change the colors of the panels really easily for the students. It was fucking awesome, dude. And what was really cool too is it was 10 students. And this is another thing about me, is I love teaching and working with people and kids. Like I love it. Mm-hmm. Anytime I can pass knowledge on, I'm going to take advantage of it 100%, because I love sharing with people. I'm an open book, and I also like encouraging people too, because I think we need it.
Well, and I'm assuming there was people that were encouraging you and supporting you
100%.
Because I feel that way now too. The older I get, I'm like, oh, I want to like
give back.
Not necessarily give back, but give some people opportunities that people gave me when I was, younger or at earlier stage of my career.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why I'm always I feel the same way. And that's why I'm always so forthcoming about like shoemaking's not that hard, people. You know what I mean? Because like I never want people to feel like they can't do this shit, or they can't do anything. I'm a true believer, like you can do whatever you want.
The information's out there. You just got to go and do it.
Especially these days, like you can do whatever you want. Yeah. This isn't the fucking 70s or 80s where like, you have to go, like there's a specific path that you have to take to be successful.
Yeah.
Success comes in so many different forms. And in my opinion, and this, my wife and I definitely share this sentiment, is my success always resides here because I need to make sure that I'm good here.
Right.
Because I don't care about anything else. Because if I'm not good and like, if I don't feel good, if I'm not proud of myself, if I'm not happy with who I am and how I'm being, if I can't look myself in the mirror, that none of these other accomplishments matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? It really kind of makes it like my focus has to be just on me. You know what I mean? And doing things that I love.
Yeah. And I think success is actually an inward thing. Like we all deem, because like somebody could think success is $1 million. Some people think, no, success is just me having my clients I have, and I don't need to take on anymore. I don't need to work 24/7. I don't need 1 million clients. I'm good with the people I have. That's success. Is like each month I have the same, repeat clients, whether it's like you're, barber or like a whatever it may be. So,
and I think when you're great, when you come from a place of gratitude like that, then more abundance comes because you're already happy with what you have. You're already happy with everything, and it's okay to want more. It's okay to desire and to push for more, but you also have to appreciate what you have in front of you as well in order to give yourself that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was crazy. Like I said, going back to the studio and being there as an instructor after kind of idolizing him as an artist and then really wanting to take this class, I was super excited. So we went there. There was 10 students that we helped. 7 of which were female, which I was not expecting. And I was really happy. Yeah, I was really happy to see that there's a lot more of a female presence in this space now,
right?
Which I fuck with. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Do you think there's is it because it's shoes specifically? Because I know there's a lot of women in fashion and like creating garments.
Yeah,
but maybe because shoes is more of a male interest.
Yeah, I think that you make a great point. I think it's I think that definitely has something to do with it. I also feel like it's just I feel like historically men have been the artists. And I don't mean that in a way of men are more creative. I mean because we push that because men, we all know what it's like and how women have been treated.
Yeah,
but it's, you know what I mean? I truly think it's because of that. I think it's just because that a lot of the times women were viewed as homekeepers, and it's like finally that mold is being broken. And then we're seeing a little bit more equality and equity throughout, at least societally. And so I think it's one of two things. I think it's that, and I think it's women just being able to explore their creative passions more and not being pigeonholed.
Totally.
But I also think it has something to do with the resurgence of sneakers in the female community. Because chicks are wearing J's and they're wearing Dunks.
It's so common.
Everything now.
Your wife, she works in the clubs.
Yep.
We shoot in the clubs. Yeah. Women wearing sneakers is so it's so in right now. And the reason why I asked that fashion part is because the high school I went to, we had a fashion major. So it was just like 60 women in that class just making dope shit. Yeah. But it was all, like dresses and garments opposed to like footwear. So,
and I'm sure that there was probably a handful of women in that class that would have loved to dip their toe in the footwear.
Totally.
And like I said, I'm really happy to see it. I know of a handful of female creators that do what I do that I'm really happy to see them in it. You know what I mean? And like I said, if you're a creator and you're out there and you have questions about shoemaking, please reach out to me. Because I really am. I'm an open book. I will tell you everything you need to know, and I will save you all of the headaches that I had to go through.
That's awesome. Well,
don't wear them like a badge of honor. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah.
Do not wear those headaches as a badge of honor. It's okay to make things easier on yourself. You don't have to put yourself through the gauntlet, like you said, to feel like you accomplished something. Life is not meant to go through by yourself, and it's important that you lean on people when you need it. And creativity and creating anything is no different. Art is no different. If you need to lean on somebody, lean on them. It doesn't make you any less of an artist. It doesn't make you any less creative.
Great point.
It does not reduce your value as an artist by having to lean on somebody. It makes you more valuable as a person because you're admitting that you aren't all knowing.
You're growing.
And that's where the growth happens. So sorry for the I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but make sure you fucking
this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on that note, on that very inspirational note, is there anything else you want to leave? You know what? One more question.
Yeah, please.
One more question. What you got? Any advice you'd give to 20-year-old Jordon?
20-year-old? Oh my gosh. 20-year-old
We'll
me.
do like one solid piece.
I think, I think I would just tell him everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. I have a very weird view on my spirituality, and I don't want to say weird. It's just not what a lot of people think.
Conventional.
I didn't have a very conventional religious upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
I won't even say that, because that almost doesn't even sound right either. My parents never pushed religion on me ever when I was a kid.
Same.
Yeah, same here.
Blessing and a curse, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt very lost when I was young, because I think a lot of people would talk about God, they would talk about, religion, and I never felt that connection because I never practiced it in my home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I think things operate a little differently, right? I'm big on energy, and I'm big on intention, and I'm big on a lot of those things. And I think I kind of have this weird viewpoint where our intuition, I always think about that, right? Like intuition. What is your intuition really?
Mm-hmm.
Is it your expectations, and you're projecting your expectations out? Is it, what is it, right? I kind of had this thing. And what I kind of believe now, and this does go back into my spirituality, is I believe we exist through all phases of our life simultaneously, and we just experience it chronologically, right? So we are living our full lives all at the same time, and we just experience it and view it in a chronological order because it makes sense that way.
Okay.
But I still feel like the adolescent me, I feel like the future me is all part of me right now.
Okay, I get what you're saying now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and it's all part of the same energy source.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I've adopted this view as my intuition being future me, kind of nudging myself along.
That's awesome.
In the right way.
Yeah.
And
It's like that gut feeling.
Exactly. Because it's like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, where does that
Right.
gut feeling come from? Why do we have it? And
why is it right? And why is it correct most?
And why is it
Almost
correct most of the
yeah.
time?
Yeah.
And why does all this weird shit happen? You know what I mean? Like manifesting, how come this type of shit happens? And it's like, there's just, like I said, 20-year-old me was very lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Was very lost, was very self-conscious, didn't know what I was doing. I was definitely doing some things that were not very true to me as a person and who I was. Anybody that knew me when I was 20, I apologize. And it was just it was just one of those things, And so I think just telling, again, to circle back to the first question, I think it's just telling 20-year-old me that everything is okay. But I also think that I've been telling myself that the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I've had some rough shit, and I think each time it's just been that internal voice that tells you to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's your future self.
And I truly think it's just my future self telling myself everything is going to be okay. Because if everything was not going to be okay, then why would I tell you to keep going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Has everything ever, it's always been okay. Everything has always been okay. Bad things happen. And I'm not saying that my life has been perfect, but everything has always been okay at the very end of it all. And so, yeah, like I said, I mean, that's just my viewpoint. That might change. I'm constantly thinking, and my brain goes a mile a minute.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel, and it gives me, like I said, it gives me a little bit of comfortability thinking that, because it feels right. It feels like it's when I think about my subconscious, when I think about those driving forces, they feel familiar. They feel home. They feel like me. And so why would it not be? And who am I to say that it's not? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Damn.
Totally. Well, I think on that note, wrap this puppy up.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
So Jordon Diab on everything, Jordon. Please make sure that we spell it right. JORDONDIAB. Generally, I'm on Instagram for the most part. I post everywhere, but a lot of my content, what you'll see, is on Instagram, or you can find my website, www.jordondiab.com.
You said you accept emails and DMs for
emails, DMs,
shoe inquiries.
texts. If you've got my number, I'm telling
get
you,
a hold of
any
him and
way
he'll
that you
take
can
care
get
of
a
you.
hold of me, get a hold of me. I get back to everybody, or at least I certainly try to.
Cool.
So if you shoot me an email, if you shoot me a message on Instagram is a little harder because it'll get put, if I'm not following you, it'll get put into the requests.
And then if people respond to your story, it gets popped
Just
to the
pushed
bottom.
down.
exactly. So if that's the case, if I'm not following you and you've messaged me, please message me again. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that
no hard feelings,
sometimes they'll get kicked and they'll get pushed to the bottom and you never know. And then they'll drop off. So, but yeah, Jordon Diab on everything. I appreciate all the support and I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Thanks for
I've
coming
really
on.
enjoyed,
of course, that was the most,
enjoy the
I think that was the
conversation.
deepest and most introspective episode we've ever had. I'm very excited for the listeners to listen.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
We talk a lot. My wife and I, we try to figure out, you know, the universe and all the little things that we're constantly wondering when we're looking up at the stars. So I think it's nice that I can share some of those sentiments and hopefully, like I said, the things that have helped me can help other people. And, you know, real quick, just to sign off, I just want to, you know, I want to reiterate, if anybody out there is interested in getting into shoe customizations, shoe making, sneaker, leather work, anything that you want to get into, if you're struggling and maybe you're hitting a wall or if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I will answer any question that you have. There are no dumb questions when you're learning a new craft. There are no dumb questions when you are learning a new craft. Yeah. I want to make sure that I say that again.
Pick his brain, y'all.
Pick my brain. I'm here. And my goal really, I think, moving forward is to just spread more knowledge and to give more resources to other makers. That's definitely what I view coming next. Mm-hmm. Because I don't really have necessarily like a roadmap of where I see it going. I really want to kind of go with the flow, but I know that helping people and giving mentorship to people is really a core of what I want to do.
Yeah. And then what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Totally.
It's good for everybody.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And the more positivity that you put out in the world, the more that comes back to you.
You know what I mean? Agree.
We get fucked in a lot of different areas of our lives. Yeah. And so I think, you know, we should, especially as men, we got to take time to say nice things to each other, to smile at each other, to hug each other and, you know, support each other. And I think that's what you guys are doing here. And I'm really appreciative to be a part of it.
Awesome.
You know, creatives supporting creatives and, you know, in this case, you know, men supporting men. And I really appreciate that. And so, like I said, y'all, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want in life. There's nothing that you can't do. I'm such a big believer in that. And I'm a proof of it. I never thought that, you know, 2-3 years ago, I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now. And it's, even though I don't have all the answers and I didn't necessarily have all the answers going into it, I felt my way through it and I always made it work, just like we all always make it work, right? Mm-hmm. We always do.
Yeah. No matter what. Look at where you're at today versus where you were then. Not sure that you could be at this point that you're at today. You know.
And now because of that, 5 years from now seems like the sky's the limit because I've already proven to myself that I can do something that I want to do. And so now it's like, who knows where the next.
Yeah. The future is so exciting now.
It's so much more open because I've
recently been feeling that. I've just been like, oh, dude, I'm so excited. And then I go into this like spiral. Because I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for the future. I'm like, fuck, I'm still going to die eventually. So that's like this weird like cycle that I go through.
Dude, you say that, but I'm telling you, we're going to figure out aging. I think in our life, so. I swear, I'm not kidding. I think they're going to figure out aging in our lifetime. And I think it'll be a thing in the past.
As far as like we'll live forever?
I think that we will. Yeah. I think that at a certain point we will achieve like escape velocity from death. So, like we'll be able to extend the life expectancy farther out than we will be able to,
plug our consciousness in a different meat puppet.
Or two questions is one, do we live forever? Like we can live to 300 years or do we just stop aging? We could be like, I'm 80, take the shot.
I think it's that. I think from a cellular level, they're going to figure out aging, and they've already kind of figured out aging. Something just came out like a week ago where they completely reversed the aging on a mouse, 50%. So this mouse had like gray hair, grays, and then they show the mouse and it's like totally rejuvenated. And they said that the you know how you do your biological age or something like that. I think when they looked at that, they saw that all of the cells had regenerated 50% or something like that. Shit. So it had some crazy thing. So it's like, that's where we're at 2023. We're all 30 years old.
Yeah.
When we're 50 years old, you're not even like, we're not going to look that much different. You know, yeah, we're going to have 20 years on us, but like, we're not going to be old
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we're 50.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
A,
We're also gonna be
healthcare
handsome.
is going to be, healthcare is going to be better.
Right.
But I also just think that aging is all oxidation too. You know what I mean? It feels like I'm no scientist, but it's like, I feel like someone that's smarter than me is going to be able to
Someone's
figure it
figuring
out.
something
We're
out, that's for
already,
sure.
Granted right now, because of all the shit that we put in our bodies, we're actually the first generation that has a shorter life expectancy than our parents' generation. Did you guys know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. So we in America, our generation here, we're the first generation that has a lower life expectancy than our parents, but it's just because of all the crazy fucking shit that we're eating. We're eating green ketchup growing up and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so you know what I mean? I used to, I'm popping Gushers and I'm putting pills inside of a fucking fruit punch. No, do you remember the fruit punch, dude? I'd put with the faces on it and like the plastic bottles. So they had these like Kool-Aid plastic bottle, and they had like these goofy faces and you would twist off the top. They were like purple.
Yeah, and they were just straight sugar.
And then they would
I remember those.
Dude, they had ones that had pills and you'd put the pill in, you'd shake it up and it would turn the whole drink a different color.
Oh, fuck.
Nice.
That was the 90s, dude. Everything glue in the dark and everything changed colors.
I remember those drinks, but I don't remember the pill ones. But I do remember the little juices. Yeah, you'd pop the plastic, break the tab off, and it was just straight sugar.
It was like a melted like Otter Pop.
Basically.
Horrible. But that's take care of yourself and what you put in your body too.
For sure.
Like make sure that you take care of yourself. Go on EWG, Environmental Wellness Group, and make sure that you're checking your products because I will say I touched on real quick. I'm sorry. I touched on I had Hashimoto's disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and I won't say I healed it because Ash healed it.
Oh yeah.
Through just a really, really strict diet. I'd mentioned that too. I was doing no sugar, no alcohol, no eggs, no soy, no dairy, no gluten.
Yeah.
Dang.
And I did I did no sugar for like 3 years or something.
Nice.
Or no, I think it was like 2 years. I did like
so were
no
you doing
sugar.
No refined sugar? Were you still eating
No
some
refined
fruit?
sugar. Yeah, no refined sugar. So fruit has fiber in it. The fiber is the X factor.
Which
So
helps block it from turning into a glucose?
Exactly.
Right.
And it actually helps from what I understand. Again, I'm not a scientist and I don't claim to be. Check me on this. But fruit will bypass your pancreas too. Okay. And so it won't give you those insulin spikes that you'll receive when you're eating, just like a candy bar or something like that. Right. But the fiber is really what helps your body break down that fructose.
And that's why they say you do smoothies instead of juice, because with smoothies, you have the fiber in it. When you juice something, you lose the fiber.
Exactly. Yeah. Fruit juice is just sugar at the end of the day. It's better than, a candy soda or a candy bar, but you don't get those. I mean, fiber, fruit is fruit. You ever taken a bite into a nice, I don't know, man. It's good.
I've been doing no sugar recently too. So I've been doing a ton of fruit.
How do you feel?
It's so good. Good.
How long have you been doing it?
So I've been doing it on and off for the last year.
Oh, okay.
Cause I might have an autoimmune disease as well.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
We're figuring that out now. But so I've been doing that. So now I'm like super strict.
Do you care to tell me about that? Or do you not want to get into it?
It might be autoimmune hepatitis. So my liver's being attacked by my body.
Okay.
So I'm just doing tests and shit. I might have to do like a biopsy in a couple of months.
Well, I hope everything goes well for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anytime anything is autoimmune in nature, it does not, this is not a cure-all. This is not something that is blanketed. I'm just sharing this with you because I've seen it work for me and I want to share it with you.
Yeah.
But I would work on an Epstein-Barr protocol.
Okay.
Epstein-Barr virus, EBV. That is a herpes simplex virus. It is what gives people Epstein-Barr is cold sores and stuff like that. Yeah. You get it when you're a kid and you have a family member, kiss you or something like that, and then you got Epstein-Barr for the rest of your life. So it lays dormant. I don't know if
is that the I know there's two herpes viruses.
It is a herpes simplex virus.
Dormant one. Yeah. I think I do have that.
So, and a lot of the times what you'll see is that Epstein-Barr will reactivate after I'm going to call it traumatic time in your life. It does not have to be emotional trauma or physical trauma exclusively. Either of those can break your body down enough to where your immunity goes down and you're able to, and that Epstein-Barr is able to kind of wreak havoc on your system because again, you're immunocompromised because of the stress. I don't know if you had anything go on, but
I'm constantly
I certainly did. Like I was working out so fucking much that I really just like broke my body. Yeah. And I was doing a lot of shit I shouldn't have been doing, eating dog shit food. And I just broke my body. I really truly feel like I did. And so when that happened, I think that was a lot of physical trauma that I was putting myself through, not getting a lot of sleep, burning the candle at both ends,
Yeah.
drinking a lot because I was in my
20-year-old
20s.
shit.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And so once I started getting really bad pain in my neck, found out that I had, Hashimoto's disease.
Yeah.
And so I had a functional doctor who told me basically do an Epstein-Barr virus protocol. He tested me for it first, I should say that. And my levels were fairly high. And so he could tell that there was some type of an infection going on it wasn't dormant, basically, is what I'm saying. It had reactivated. And then it just, it can find its way and bury its way into your thyroid, and your body just attacks it. You know what I mean? And so sometimes when things are autoimmune in nature, your body's not necessarily attacking itself. There's just some type of pathogen that is in one of your organs, and sometimes it's Epstein-Barr. And that's what it's attacking. Shit. It's not necessarily trying to attack your liver. It's trying to attack the pathogen or the virus or, whatever is in your liver, because it's a foreign body. So I'm glad that you're not doing sugar. I would suggest don't do alcohol.
Yeah. He tries to,
and I would just look up an Epstein-Barr protocol.
Yeah. I'm even doing no wheat, no gluten.
Yep. That's going to be a big one too. Sugar. Big for thyroid. But good in general, right? So much of our wheat is very, very compromised.
I feel like immediately less bloated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's crazy, right? And I will say this, shameless plug. My wife was, again, my saving grace when I was trying to heal my Hashimoto's, and it was the diet and it was resting. And like I said, I'd mentioned the things that I stayed away from. Just make sure that what you're putting in your body is high quality. If you ever have questions about diet, if you need good recipes, she's got a website that's got some really big